A total of 37 people arrested accused of crimes, now locked up.
Yeah, this is just a horrific story.
If you don't know who Midnight Productions is, they do horrible things on the dark web. YouTube is filled with numerous stories. It is not a myth. They're not a fantasy. They're not a conspiracy. They are actually true.
Be aware, Midnight Productions is a band of people who go around picking up young women, young girls, taking them back to their hideout, filming it while they're they'll cut them up in pieces, they'll kill you. Midnight Productions are people that you need to stay away of. Cops, lawyers, judges.
Intense video released from Phoenix police showing a possible kidnapping.
Police need the public's help identifying who is in this video.
The mugshots of more than 30 accused predators, allegations of child trafficking, luring of a minor for exploitation. Investigators went undercover, placing ads on websites and apps commonly used by suspects targeting children for.
This is horribly wrong. They are looking to manipulate and exploit children.
A home surveillance camera captured that chilling moment where the girl barely got away from the man running after her.
It's the most terrifying thing as a grandfather, as a father, can never go through.
Midnight Productions is real shit. They don't know a lot of people are missing that house. There's baby cribs, the lights for films. They had rooms with like cages. You go in the house and then the wall would have you could step into some weird tunnel shit.
This is a prison cell. Only kids are being held down here.
The underground bunker, it was basically a giant plastic container with a hole only small enough for a child to crawl in and out of. A small child that was in there could not have gotten out on their own.
There's a child's vanity and a hospital toilet. That looks like a child's car seat.
Strollers and children's toys and clothing and food packets and stuff like that. So clearly children had been kept here. But one thing that was really disturbing was there were arm restraints, wrist restraints on two trees angled like this to where that's a tree. That looks exactly like wrist restraints for a tree. It doesn't look like anything else.
There's the Midnight Productions out here, and it is right here. That shit is everywhere. It's a human trafficking. It's every day. People will, come and lure you in and then take you, and you are a slave until they are done with that, and then chop you up and sell your body parts.
These guys set me up to be tortured by Midnight Productions. It's a conspiracy among conspiracies. If it's true, man, God help us. But
Phoenix is on pace for a record-breaking number of homeless deaths. According to new data from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office, more than 300 homeless people have already died this year.
It's a body donation and tissue bank in Phoenix, Arizona. It was raided back in 2014 in a human body parts trafficking investigation.
He found a cooler filled with male a bucket of heads, arms, and legs, infected heads, and one of the most disturbing findings, called a morbid joke in the lawsuit, a small woman's head sewn onto a large male torso like Frankenstein and hung up on the wall.
When I first came across Midnight Productions, it was because my wife Courtney sent me a video on Instagram where a homeless woman was talking about this group in Phoenix, Arizona that has been known to abduct homeless people, men, women, and children, assault them on camera in hidden rooms and bunkers, and then murder them on camera. And then, of course, sell the films. This was a snuff film ring called Midnight Productions, and I couldn't believe what I had just heard.
Oh yeah, be careful for people. Like, can't trust white people over here because they're into like satanic shit in Mesa and Tempe. You hear about it? This shit called the Midnight Productions. Yeah. And it's real shit. Midnight Productions is like, they call it. It's like they don't believe in Jesus or satanic. They believe in like getting girls out there that are all messed up on drugs. You see the young ones, and they real lightweight, and they're wigging out, and they'll tell them, you want something, get them high, their drug of choice, and then they sedate them, they'll lock them up, and they basically keep them they deprive them and keep them doped up to where they don't know what's going on with them, that they're getting filmed, and they make them have babies and kill their babies. And a lot of times the girls you see missing, all that shit missing on the post, a lot of times I think that they get grabbed by them people. And then sometimes you know who they are because there's some cars that will follow you and follow you. You see cars like I notice when I see cars follow, I just try to tell them, let them know I know what they're about. I know that they want certain people and certain kind because they're their interests, but I think now they're more into like because you know Easter's coming. They're more into, because they're against God. They're more into like wanting to sacrifice, just like weird satanic shit. I don't like talking about that shit, but like my homie from he's from 43rd in McDowell. His sister was missing, and one of the homies noticed that she went to a house, and they noticed she never came out, and the lady that lived there was like a ringleader of that shit. They ended up going in there and stabbing the lady and trying to kill her because the sister, they don't know what happened to her. She's missing. They don't know where a lot of people are missing. They went in that house. There's baby crib, film, like, you know, film, like the lights for films. They had rooms with like cages. It was like you go in the house and then the wall would have a hole. Like it's like you could step into some weird tunnel shit. And that lady, I ran into her when I was in jail, and she tried to convince me that when I got out of jail, she'd give me all the drugs I wanted. I had to go home to my mom, and that I could stay with her. I was warned about her when I was in jail because they wanted me to try to kill her. And I said, I want a part of it. But I kind of low-key wanted to go where she was very convincing because I was younger at that time. I didn't want to be told what to do. I wanted to get high.
I had electroshock therapy done on my head by Midnight Productions, and they wiped my memory, so I don't know. Be aware, Midnight Productions is a band of people who go around picking up young women, young girls, taking them back to their hideout, filming it while they're them. They'll cut them up in pieces. They'll kill you. Midnight Productions are people that you need to stay away of. Cops, lawyers, judges.
So they're all people with power?
Yeah.
What would you say to people that say that's just an urban legend?
It's not an urban legend. I know. Victim twice. I've had electroshock therapy done on my head. I don't remember anything from my past. I don't remember much of what they did to me. All I know is that these people are not nice to be around. Don't hang out with them. Don't get involved with them. You see any vehicles with tinted windows and you can't see the person, stay clear of all costs. That's all I can say.
How'd you get picked up? Was it just a random car? You were walking down the street? How did it happen?
Well, what I was told is I was in the front yard and a family member went inside, and that's when they got me. Because I was alone. They take you to their base, they take you to their location where they're at, and then they'll you, and once they're done with you, while they're also they'll videotape it. There's a thing called SNUFF. That's what their videos are called, SNUFF. Look up Midnight Productions on web. You'll find them. But after that, they will take the women and young ladies, and they'll kill them. I'm lucky I got away, thanks to the HA. I'm very grateful.
Out here, it sucks out here. It's very dangerous. There's the Midnight Productions out here, and it is right here. That shit is everywhere. It's scary.
For people that don't know what Midnight Productions is.
It's a human trafficking. It's every day people will, come and lure you in and then take you, and you are a sex slave until they are done with that, and then chop you up and sell your body parts. Yeah, it's fucked up out here.
How do you know that's a real thing?
I haven't seen it. I've heard it. There's a couple ladies, because mental illness is really bad out here. It just goes undiagnosed, undetected, or whatever. People are just fending for themselves out here. There's this group of women down by the canal. You can tell there's something wrong. They're not quite right. One will have like 20 coats on, won't take any of them off. She always, don't touch me, Yeah. And there's these like black guys. There's like these 5 black guys that will sit there and watch who talks to her, or if you try to help her or anything. It's fucked up because they're just raping these women. One of them has a kid, and it's fucked up. But I've had friends who told me their daughters and their friends have literally waited till everyone's asleep and mobbed up out of hotels after like whoever in the crew went through them, and they're able to leave, ran down the street naked, trying to get away from them. Yeah, it's fucked up.
That's great.
Yeah, I hope I don't see it, because if I see anything of it, it'd be too late for me.
Obviously, anybody who hears something like that is going to think there's no way that that's possible for something like that to happen. First of all, I would implore you to go do some independent research yourself. Look into the Presidio ring, look into the Franklin ring, look into North Fox Island. There's so much of this stuff that has happened throughout American history that we just do not know about. So I went into this with an open mind, thinking maybe there is something to all of this. And once I started looking into Midnight Productions, I couldn't get back out of the rabbit hole. So if you look right here on Google, this is how I started my journey. You click on Midnight Productions in Phoenix. This is one of the first things that I started looking into was this Reddit post. And this was showing, a lot of people were commenting saying that yes, Midnight Productions is a real thing. Like right here, these people are real. They're affiliated with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department, Hells Angels, as well as the Mexican cartel. They have access to unlimited weapons and literally unlimited budget. They have ties with the state government, and I had to move away from there. I ran into these kind of people. That's why this is a nationwide problem. All of these comments, there's so many comments, and this is where you really should start if you want to look into this like I have on these message boards. And it's a lot of people saying, I've had experiences with Midnight Productions and they're real. So what's really interesting about all of this, to basically explain what Midnight Productions is. People think that it is a ring operating in Arizona, mainly in Phoenix, but also in Tucson and Scottsdale, other smaller cities. And this is a ring of individuals with ties to law enforcement, with ties to politicians and higher-ups. Some people even claim with ties to motorcycle gangs. And essentially, it's like what I said before. Midnight Productions is abducting homeless men, women, sometimes just children in general. They are torturing these abducted persons on camera, brutally assaulting them, and then murdering them and making a profit off of the sale of these tapes, and also doing it for some sort of sick, sadistic pleasure. So as I started going down the Midnight Productions rabbit hole, I started to realize that this isn't just an internet rumor. There are thousands, tens of thousands of comments and forums that in the past few months I have personally gone through and read through, and thousands of people claiming they have had run-ins with Midnight Productions. People saying they were abducted by them, they escaped, they know someone who was tortured by them and they escaped. People that they know have disappeared. There's names that are brought up, addresses, locations, and in my mind, you just can't have so many people talking about something and saying that it's 100% real if there's absolutely nothing to it. There's absolutely no reason for these people to be so invested in this story that is just a lie. And you're going to see in this documentary, when we talk to people in Phoenix, Arizona, this is not just an internet belief. This is a belief that transcends into the real world there. And it's going to get frightening. Just let's look at a couple more of these comments. I mean, I heard about this in 2017 from a girl from the Glendale area. I was born and raised in Phoenix. Midnight Productions is an underground snuff film group. The police are in it to some extent. That's why people are careful to talk about it. So here's some mentions of some neighborhoods. This is where I met a gentleman who was a light drug user in this neighborhood. He said that he got into talking shit with this guy about some trashy girl they knew, and then he was offered money to, quote, kill stray dogs on tape. I thought it was all bullshit until this guy proceeds to pull a VHS tape out of his backpack, and when we tracked down a VCR, the video showed some girl giving blank to a guy with a mask. She didn't know she was being filmed. Suddenly he started holding her hair and then started cutting her head off while she was performing that. He never stopped using the head, even after it was disconnected from the body. The same guy told me that they have dudes everywhere that sell MP copies of their snuff films, and that one of their providers was the Toy Box Killer, Charles Parker Ray. That's insane. If you don't know that whole story, that serial killer, the Toy Box Killer, had a torture shack in his trailer. He was abducting women and just brutally torturing them inside of this trailer. I cannot go into details here. If you want to hear that full story, Courtney and I did it as an episode of Murder in America, but it's horrific the things that he was doing, and he was filming all this stuff. So people are connecting him to it. And every single comment when you go down these forums, Yes, it's true. I did 22 years in prison in Arizona, and midnight productions is a common talk of the underground and streets. It's real shit, and they foul people. Another comment, this midnight production is very, very real. I used to live in a halfway house with girls from the streets coming in and talking about it. They were scared to death, and girls I've known who knew about it who eventually went missing. So this shit ain't nothing to mess with. You really don't want to know. Someone was asking, this person says you don't want to know what it is unless you're looking for trouble. I wrote this thing explaining a lot, then I erased it. You're poking a wasp's nest. So if you get stung, it's on you. I know nothing about anything. Good luck. I'm not even kidding. You really need to read through some of these comments, because these are people bringing up specific motels. They're saying, like, this woman, multiple people were involved. She was talking about making these films and movies. And then a lot of people saying tread carefully, which is a little bit scary, because it really seems like a lot of people who have been in Phoenix, who understand that midnight productions is this local kind of urban legend thing. Well, I'd say you get 3 types of comments from people. 1, midnight productions doesn't exist. That's the basic, easy answer here. Number 2, you'll get a comment from somebody saying, I have had experience with midnight productions and it's very real. And these are very vocal people that are trying to warn others online about this. Then you have a 3rd type of comment, which is simply, don't look into this. It is a terrible mistake. So we knew we had to look into it. I mean, just look at all of these Reddit posts, right? You go down and down and down. Everybody has stories about this sort of thing. And it's like, it's insane that this has never been seriously looked into. I don't think I've ever seen an actual YouTube video that is going in depth about midnight productions. I don't know if people are scared of it or what. Like even this person, I heard about midnight productions 20 years ago. Supposedly some guys we hung out with were involved. I never went back to their house after I heard the kind of shit that they were up to. And I just don't see why people would lie about all this stuff. I mean, these are like regular ass comments, people like legitimately afraid to even talk about this stuff. And yeah, as you go down through all of this shit, all of these different Reddit posts and forums, people are talking about patterns, coming out with their experiences. And at one point I got to this blog, the Truther Girls blog. Now, this is a really, really disturbing article talking about snuff films and in Arizona. This blog post discusses people involved in the local government and the sheriff's office who are involved in midnight productions. But what's really interesting about all of that is look at how many comments there are on this post. Look at this, guys. And these people are all telling like true stories. Well, according to them, true stories of midnight productions experiences. Like midnight productions, big block north of 72nd Avenue. Somebody owns a house near north of this address, not an urban legend, supposed bodies in the backyard. First room is the coffin room. Anyone who has the balls to speak out has disappeared. All of these people talking with really specific details. You know what I mean? And people just bringing up different murder cases. People bringing up sex offenders. Here's the Three Palms Hotel. That is going to come up in a little bit in this documentary. I've seen that come up a few times being mentioned. But yeah, I mean, you go down this rabbit hole, and I've spent days just reading all this stuff, and it's frankly really convincing. Now, something else that's interesting about midnight productions is how it's tied, supposedly according to some people, to the unsolved disappearance / murder of a girl named Mikkel Biggs. She was a young girl who disappeared in the Phoenix area decades ago, and I had never seen a connection between midnight productions and this crime until I started researching it, and then I came across comments like this. I was born and raised in Arizona, small town between Phoenix and Tucson. I learned of midnight productions as an adult. I had moved to Mesa. I met a young girl that years before was held hostage for months by a man known as Peg Leg Bill. Throughout the years in Mesa, I met many girls / women that had been connected to midnight productions. Peg Leg Bill came up often. I don't know why, but some of them would open up. They trusted me. They told me that he was responsible for the kidnapping of a little girl in Mesa years earlier, Mikkel Biggs. And she goes on to give a lot of really specific information, talking about how, once again, Mikkel Biggs was, according to her and what people told her, murdered on camera. And it's really, really weird stuff. I mean, even right here on another unconnected Reddit post from 10 months ago, here's another person talking about Mikkel Biggs being kidnapped by the Hells Angels, and then Midnight Productions torturing her, assaulting her, killing her on camera. So you'd think with all these people talking about this online, right, there would be more people talking about it, more videos, a documentary, more news articles, but there's nothing besides these forum posts and the thousands and thousands of them and the mentions of Midnight Productions and all these specifics. There's nothing. I even started looking, and this was eerie, I started looking into people who also might have looked into Midnight Productions in the past. I came across this Twitter page going after Midnight, staffed by investigators examining allegations of an underground organization in Arizona known as Midnight Productions. They have a contact email, but their last tweet was in 2020. It seems like shortly after they started this project in February of 2020, whoever was running this page disappeared. They've never posted again. And I emailed them a couple of times. In fact, to film this documentary, I sent probably 100 to 150 emails, somewhere in the middle there, and I got no responses from anybody. Everyone seemed to be too afraid to reach back out to me about speaking on this subject. And I thought that was weird that this guy just disappeared. Then there's another guy, William Josh Hellman. I found his page. Check this out. March 8th, 2021. He's talking about Midnight Productions here. I have a huge issue here in Phoenix, Arizona that needs to be exposed to the rest of the world. There is an organization here in the valley that is the most evil thing, involving the most evil people alive. They prey on people to torment, then torture them for film. That was March 8th, 2021. He has not posted anything on X since. Isn't that really strange to you? I actually came across a number of different Twitter profiles of people whose last tweet was about Midnight Productions. Like, they would tweet something about how Midnight Productions is coming after them, and then they would go completely silent. So, there's obviously something going on here in Phoenix, Arizona. I feel like I've heard this story so many times. In high places, children being murdered, all of this stuff being filmed. These are common motifs in these stories, and as I've dug into these, and there are projects that I'm involved with, documentaries that are going to be coming out that involve similar topics, the more you dig in, the more you realize this stuff is real, and you want to fight to expose this filth. But after seeing that post and going down that rabbit hole, that's why I decided that my next trip was going to be to Phoenix, Arizona. And so that's why earlier this year, that's where we headed to film this documentary. Now, what would follow would be a complete odyssey of terror, disgust, and shock. When we first arrived to Phoenix, we met up with a guy who runs the YouTube channel Lost in Phoenix. Now, this guy actually interviews homeless individuals in the Phoenix area. He tells their stories. But I reached out to him and asked if he had ever run into homeless individuals while interviewing in Phoenix that spoke about Midnight Productions. And shockingly, he said he had a lot of information. So we met up in a public park, and I'm going to let him take this away.
So my name's Art Castro. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a YouTube channel called Lost in Phoenix. I go out and I interview folks that are homeless, and a lot of the people homeless here in Phoenix are using blues, counterfeit fentanyl pills that are coming in from Mexico, and they're very cheap here in Phoenix. $1, $2, $3 for a pill, which makes it very cheap and readily available. And so you have people from out of state coming to Phoenix for these pills, you know, and so all day long you're able to interview these folks and try to get them help.
That's crazy. $1 a pill?
They used to be, last year they were about 50 cents, but prices fluctuate because of the supply, basically.
There is a pretty significant population here in Phoenix, right?
Oh, absolutely. The city of Phoenix estimates 10,000, but I would easily say 15, 20,000. I don't know how they're counting, but it's just prolific, just a lot of people out here.
And so I guess let's just dig into it. So when did you first hear or start hearing about Midnight Productions?
Ever since I started, so 3.5 years ago, I would interview people and I would ask them, tell me about some of the dangers out here. And just the first thing they would mention is Midnight Productions. What is Midnight Productions? And just people driving around looking for other people, looking for women, like girls that are out here homeless. No, anybody. But they looks like they prey on the weak, you know. And so these pills are counterfeit, which is downers basically, right? So they consume these pills and they're knocked out. They're asleep for 30 minutes, an hour, hours, however many pills they consume. And so they're very vulnerable, right? Especially when they're by themselves. And according to what I've heard from different people all throughout the valley, so it's not one person, right? It's just a wide variety of people that have no connection other than living on the streets. And so they'll tell me, yeah, usually I see a car following me, or a friend of mine was somebody approached, but she ran away, right? So they don't come announce themselves as Midnight Productions, but that's the name that they go by, that these folks are calling them Midnight Productions. I'm not sure why, but they tell me that why Midnight Productions? Oh, we've heard that they'll kidnap you and they'll take you down at somebody's house and they'll make videos of you. And so they get pretty graphic about it. And so that's a lot of people are very aware, especially when you're out there on the streets, very aware of Midnight Productions. Be careful with the police, be careful with business owners, and be careful with Midnight Productions.
Like what's happening? What are these people explaining goes on when they get abducted?
So they've mentioned assaults that's being filmed and that they're selling them online, the videos. There must be a market, you know, for that type of stuff. That's what they say. He's like, I don't want to get kidnapped, they say, right? So you know, you sleep one eye open, or if we're part of a group sleeping out here in the streets, we'll take turns. You sleep while I stay awake, right? And but that's but what if you're by yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you do? So it's the kind of like luck of the draw, and but definitely it's kind of like slave, blacks, men, women, it doesn't matter. They'll capture it on video and put it out there.
Children too, allegedly, right?
The youngest person I've seen out here was 13 years old.
That's crazy. 13
years old smoking these pills in front of my eyes. So I've seen it. You know, if they're going, why not? Why wouldn't they, right? So I've seen 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds out here, these pills out here walking around at night. So you got somebody, they're not gonna worry about age. They're gonna just snatch you up and do whatever they want with you, you know? So definitely scary out here.
Well, there's a market for snuff films we've explored. Obviously there's a market for assault, forced, you know. So it all makes sense that this could be happening, but I'm curious, have you heard stories of them being tied into murders?
A couple people have said, we haven't heard from my friend Monica, right? We're all knocked out. We all did pills. And we woke up, Monica wasn't here, but we heard a car and something. So when they're high off these pills, there's not much they can do, you know, because they're very vulnerable, right? They're just knocked out, not a lot of strength, not a lot of awareness of what's going on around them. And so they were talking about a Monica that they haven't seen her. Monica's gone, right? So where's Monica? Yeah, we don't file police reports because, you know, I think they've told me, I think the police are involved. You know, we go to the police and they just say it's a rumor. It's like, no, police are not. We haven't seen it. We've never heard about it. But they say, how can so many people be missing, right? Because Monica and this other person, this other group, you know, And so the valley is so wide, so very spread out. The city of Phoenix is very big. And so, but the same people that are telling me something on the west side might not know people on the east side, but they're telling me the same thing, you know, about people missing, basically, right? So no concrete murdered, right? Because nobody's ever found.
Right. And I think that's part of the baked in part of Midnight Productions, is that they're allegedly abducting people, assaulting them, killing them on camera, and then disposing of the body, which is like we talked before we started rolling about organ harvesting and how there was that, you know, human chop shop that was uncovered here. What year? 2016? Do you remember that?
That's something that's, again, more rumors, you know, that I've heard on the streets, right? Is that you have to be careful because they say, so other people have talked about organ harvesting, but they didn't tie it into Midnight Productions. What I think is that they might not have heard Midnight Productions, but they've heard about the organ harvesting, right? So, you got all these people that aren't putting it all together, right? Mm-hmm. But since you're doing this, and since I'm out there, if we put the pieces together, there's people like Midnight Productions, you know, snuff films, assaults, murder, organ harvesting, and how do you create awareness other than talking about it and making people aware, right? So
exactly. So what have you heard about organ harvesting? That's super interesting. Is that something people actually are telling you is happening?
Yeah, so again, a couple people have mentioned when I ask them, like, what do you think Midnight Productions is doing? They've mentioned organ harvesting, you know, and if you haven't seen Monica, your friends, again, like, where is that coming from? I heard from so-and-so, right? So the homeless community, the people doing blues as well, is they keep each other in the loop, right? Mm-hmm. For safety, for awareness, for protection. They're very informed. A lot of them have cell phones. You know, there's a lot of free cell phones out here that the government gives to these people for, you know, emergency or whatnot. So they're in the loop. They're in the know. They watch these videos, right? They interview people and they watch these videos. So they're the ones that are mentioning to me about organ harvesting. And so what they'll say is, so again, we hear about Midnight Productions. People like Midnight Productions. You mean there's other people? We've heard that there's other groups, right? The other people out here trying to pick up us vulnerable folks that are out here, right? They're saying, I don't want to be one of them. I don't want to disappear, because eventually I want to get better. I want to get well. I want to go to treatment. I've just been out here for a year, 2 years, right? I'm not ready to get treatment, but I want to get out of here before Midnight Productions gets me. They literally say that.
So you'd say, after interviewing people time and time again here, that like members of the homeless community are actually afraid of Midnight Productions? Like, they express that to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'll mention, I don't initiate the conversation about Midnight Productions because I've never seen them. I don't know them, right? So my question to the folks I interview is, what scares you about being out here? What fears do you have about being out here? The police, you know, business owners calling the police, and Midnight Productions. Tell me more. I understand why you'd be scared of the police, right? You probably have a warrant, don't want to be arrested, right? Because if you get arrested 2-3 days, a week in jail, you don't want to go through withdrawals. That's probably why the police, yeah, definitely. Well, what about Midnight Productions? Kidnappings, and this is what I've heard, right? Of kidnappings is what they say, and my friends, you know, tell me, right, out here in the homeless community, this is what we talk about, right? To stay safe and be aware. You know, hey, last night we heard about Midnight Productions over here on this side of town. Be careful. So they keep each other in the loop, right? But it's like Bigfoot. People hear about it, but really nobody's really concrete, you know, anything physical.
And so that also leads me, before we started rolling, we also talked about how you interviewed someone whose daughter went missing.
Yes.
And there's just no trace of her.
Right. She's been missing for about 5-6 years now. She has 3 children she left behind. She was struggling, homeless, using blues, and right in the heart of it, right in the middle of where it's all happening. And so I interviewed the mom, and she mentioned she's just disappeared. She filed a report with the City of Phoenix Police Department, and where is she at? And nobody's heard from her. And so people are disappearing, right? The weird thing is when it's like a crime, like a murder, a fight, something, you find them, right? You find them deceased somewhere, right? Out in the desert, in a car, at a park. You know, I've interviewed a lot of people. Unfortunately, they're no longer here, right? They're deceased due to overdoses, violence. People like this young lady just missing. So she's somewhere, you know. And so again, is she a victim of organ harvesting? Is she a victim of sex trade, you know, involvement? You know, but again, if you kind of put together what they're saying and different people, and she could possibly be a victim of that for sure.
It's really interesting because, yeah, like you said, if someone's murdered, OD, their body's there. But I feel like that's a common thing that even I've heard and done some research on, is people from the homeless community here in Phoenix just vanish into thin air. And I even read, I don't know if you remember this, but I read rumors that there was a serial killer targeting homeless individuals in Phoenix like years ago. And now that I've been hearing about this Midnight Production stuff, it's like, really makes you think if all this is like connected.
It could very well be. We've had serial killers here, a baseline killer. They leave their bodies. Mm-hmm. The bodies are found, and that's how clues are garnered. And after a while, that's enough to get them arrested, right? These serial shooters, serial killers we've had in Phoenix 15 years ago, 10 years ago. But when there's no body, you know, like it's something, it's like a group is doing a great job of disposing of evidence so that it can't be tied back to them, right? Mm-hmm. So where's the body? What are they doing with the organs? Are they just captured and somewhere in somebody's basement and just making these snuff films all day long, right? Involved in a trade in a different country, in a different city to get them out of here. It's just, and these are all things you hear from the people that I interviewed, you know. A lot of it I don't post online, but these are stories that I hear. Can't post it. I just don't post it online because sometimes gets too graphic, right? Too scary, and sometimes they don't. They tell me, you know what? I don't want to talk about Midnight Productions. They tell me that, you know. I've heard of them. I know I've heard those stories. Just don't ask me Midnight Production questions. They tell me. So there's a genuine fear from folks. You know, it's palpable, and so that's scary. Because there has to be something to it.
Exactly.
Can't be a myth.
Yeah. That's what we were saying. like hundreds of people that, I mean, dozens of people that you've talked to personally that are afraid. It's like there's always something behind these stories. Like, I understand people that are going to watch this and think it's like a boogeyman story of chasing something that doesn't exist. But when you have people disappearing, you have hundreds of people just that I've read online talking about how they escaped Midnight Productions and their friend did, or their friend was killed by them. It's like there's substance here and nobody is talking about it, which I think is crazy.
One thing I ask these folks, I'll say, how do you make money? How do you make money to support your habit? I wash windows, I open doors of stores, and I panhandle. Some girls, they'll admit, I do dates. So what's doing a date? You know, guys come up and they solicit and they want me to get in their car, and they'll, you know, we negotiate on what they want me to do and the price, and we'll just get it done. So I've had a couple ladies say, I don't do that anymore. Why? So 2 weeks ago, some guy got me in his car, drove me out in the desert, locked his doors, drove me out in the desert, and just started hitting me after having sex with me. And thankfully I escaped and I ran. I opened the door, I ran out of his car. It was out in the middle of nowhere, it was dark. I ran, I hid, and he left. It took me 2 hours to get back in the city. I was naked. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know? And that was her story. But other people have told me about guys, you know, so there has to be something to it. Was that guy Midnight Productions? And is that how they do it? They solicit these young, vulnerable women. They know they're vulnerable. They know they need money. They'll do anything for the money. So if you put all the pieces together, it could be, Midnight Productions.
Those stories are haunting. And to also think about the fact that like police don't take it seriously, and that stuff, even if Midnight Productions isn't real and that stuff is happening, that's deeply disturbing. That there are still men in the city that are doing this actively to women, preying on those extremely vulnerable and getting away with it.
Absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. So the whole purpose of my channel is prevention through awareness. By me interviewing these folks, and how did you come out here? How did you start using blues? Who introduced you to blues? What dangers are out here? I'm not trying to save the person I'm talking to, because they have to save themselves. But what about the 12, 13-year-old young girl at home that's lost, confused, and fighting with her parents before she ends up out in the street? She needs to hear that interview from this young woman that just escaped somebody's, attempted kidnapping and God knows what else, right? So that's really the intent of my channel. While I've been doing this for 3.5 years, talking to 1,000 people, you get these stories that some are more creepier than others, And mind you, a lot of people don't tell me what they go through because they know that their mom, their family are gonna watch the video, and that kind of scares them a little bit because they don't want to scare their family. They're already scared, And so again, it's good to talk about this because the youngsters at home, to not have them come out here, these are the dangers. Nothing glamorous, nothing fun, lots of danger where people want to end your life. They want to make you disappear, So what's it gonna take, for us to sound an alarm? Why don't you go to the police? The police don't believe me, they say. First off, I have a warrant. I don't want to talk to the police, because they'll take me to jail. But I know friends have gone to the police and they don't take us seriously. We're just crackheads to them. We're just addicts, just with tall tales and stories, just for attention and whatnot. But no, we have friends that are missing. What about these people that escaped? They don't want to. A lot of these folks aren't willing to be on a police report.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. So is it hard for the Phoenix Police Department to escalate and really, really dig in and do their job because they're not going to have anybody corroborating it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, it's just like the invisible crime and all that stuff that happens that is never reported. How many murders every year are not reported, and domestic violence incidents. It's crazy. I saw something that was like hundreds of thousands. I might be wrong on that, but it was a really big number of like just domestic violence incidents that go unreported. Stuff that's happening that we just don't know about because it's not in a statistic. And that's what's happening here, I think.
No, you're absolutely right. This community of thousands of people out here, they don't call the police when they're fighting, when they're injured, when they're stabbed, when they're fighting with each other because they want to take their property, they want to take their phone, they want to take their clothes, their shoes. I've interviewed people that have black eyes, they have wounds. What happened? I fell. No, you didn't fall. Are you okay? Yeah, I fell. So, but that's how I've interviewed people that have broken legs, broken fingers. Why don't you want to go to the hospital? Why don't you want to call the police? They just won't.
Mm-hmm.
These pills numb pain. So there's a lot that they can put up with as far as pain because it numbs them. It's an opiate, basically. It's really scary what they're willing to put up with for the addiction of these pills, even possibly losing their life with the overdose or somebody kidnapping them and doing whatever they want to do with them, But I think these conversations need to be had because somebody with authority needs to really dig in and investigate what's happening. Who is Midnight Productions? Let's shine a light on it and what's going on. Some undercover stuff, or I don't know. But the more we talk about it, the more maybe they'll put pressure on them to really dig in.
So I have a couple more questions. So you keep saying like some of the stories are creepier than others. Do you have any specific stories from people about something that happened to them or a friend with Midnight Productions that stick out to you?
There was a guy. He said he said a guy approached him to do a date. He said, "So I've been heterosexual all my life. I've always liked women, but I've been addicted to these pills so much. I need money so bad. I'm gonna get in a car with somebody that's soliciting." He said that guy got very aggressive and wanted to harm him, and he escaped as well. They were doing what they were doing in the car, and he was asking me if do you want to go back to my house? I'll give you more money. That's the lure,
Mm-hmm.
And nah, it's okay, dude. Just give me the what we agreed on. We're good. And he tried to keep him. He tried to keep him in his car, and so again, it's a pattern, So it's not just women, And mind you, this guy, he was just doing what he was doing to get money, And so it's that addiction side of it, and it's the things that you don't really hear about. These are things that people don't really discuss, especially on the streets, And I never published that because bro, I'm just gonna tell you, okay, just because I feel comfortable with you. He said, yeah, definitely don't upload the video, because I don't want my family to see that, it's a struggle out here, So some stories are creepier than others, with the violence, just the sheer amount of violence that they see on a daily basis, They've told me, I've seen people getting I've woken up and there's like some strange man I've never met before laying next to me. I don't know what happened last night because I was high off these pills. They numb you, the pills numb you. It's a vulnerable community.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And so these people that are creeping on these folks know it. Are they purposely buying them pills and giving them these pills and getting them really high to really make them even more vulnerable and just do whatever? So that's the scary part about this, that you hear all this from all over the valley, and if you put it together, it makes sense, So it's really sad.
I mean, it's one thing. Even Midnight Productions can just be a blanket statement too. At the end of the day, evil stuff is happening, and people are being preyed on. People are dying. People are getting raped, and this is a problem. Whether or not you believe in Midnight Productions or think that other people might be involved in this stuff, I mean, these people are being victimized.
Every day it's happening, and so they're so addicted that they're unwilling to file reports. They're unwilling to call the police and talk to them, I think because I've built a rapport with these folks that I'm not trying to get them in trouble. I'm not gonna, I'll respect their privacy. If you don't want me to tell this story or upload it or whatever, all right, thank you for letting me know, building that trust. And so you bring up a good point. The more we talk about it, right, whether it's a legitimate group of people that they themselves call themselves Midnight Productions, or it's random guys that aren't connected but are obviously victimizing this vulnerable population. It's disgusting, and it definitely needs to be talked about and create awareness and prevent people from coming out here, because we don't want more young people disappearing. It's unfortunate that they're going through this addiction and this stage in their life, but there's people I interviewed, they're clean now. They're sober.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people trip up, and sobriety is just around the corner, but do they survive these horror stories, right? Getting kidnapped and Midnight Productions and rapes and all these things that are happening, unfortunately. It's just a lot of those victims don't come forward.
Yeah.
they just don't come forward, just normal people, right, in society, right? I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, I don't want nobody to know, so I'm just gonna not tell anybody, right? Well, that's even more true for this population, that are really hiding from the police, really hiding from, it's right below the surface. It's right below, the world that you and I live in, it's, at night, stuff goes on that, while we're sleeping, it's a different world, that there's different rules, different everything. So it's really sad indeed.
So have people brought up to you any like locations or areas that they're specifically afraid of when it comes to Midnight Productions, or areas that they are known to like stalk?
So there is, wherever these folks are at, that's where the Midnight Production is going to be at, right? So these cars are creeping, this guy's watching me. It's all over the valley. Because the north side, the south side, the east side, the west side, different people that don't know each other have mentioned this to me. That's how I give it credence and legitimacy, is because different people that don't know each other mention this. Are they in white van? Somebody said a white van. I saw an all black car, no license plate, 2 guys. Somebody said it was 1 guy. Is he black? Is he Hispanic? Is he white? Yeah, it's all of that. So that's the problem, is that it's nothing concrete. It's just what people say and rumor, gossip, innuendo. But again, there's amongst all that, there's some credibility in that, So because so many people are saying it.
And they don't know none of them know each other, so they're corroborating the stories by just, telling them.
That's exactly what I'm, at first when I heard about it, you just tall tales. But then when different people throughout the valley, because again, the valley is very spread out, right? You go from one end of the valley to the other end, it takes you an hour. But these people don't talk to each other. It's just they have the same lifestyle, addiction, homelessness, same vulnerabilities. And so that's what gives it an air of legitimacy to me. Like, oh shoot, this is true.
Right.
Because they're describing the same situations, the same type of events out here, So they're and that's the worst part about it, is that it just adds another layer for them to be that they're susceptible to, And so we have those conversations, and you'd be surprised at how many people say don't ask me any midnight questions on when I interview them. We can talk about it right now off camera, but I don't want my name associated with Midnight Productions. And why? They'll say, I don't want my family to worry more, right? Because they're already worried. They think I'm an OD any day now, right? So that's one worry. And then the other worry is Midnight Productions. They kill people, they make people disappear. So I really don't want my mom to worry even more, another layer of worry for my mom.
Or even expose yourself talking about it and let them know they
exactly
know something.
Okay, there's a face to someone who knows about it, and then that makes you like a #1 victim.
Exactly. So if these people exist, they're watching these channels, they're watching these interviews.
They're going to be watching this video.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Right. And so again, that's why we have to have the courage to shed light on it. Shed light on it, make it aware, make awareness, and hopefully, again, authorities investigate, just dig in to what's really happening, right? There's only so much you can do and that I can do. Ultimately, authorities are gonna have to really dig in and go try to find these people, and go find these people that are missing, right? So I think it's that's why I agree to talk, because I think I appreciate you guys wanting to dig into it, because in 3.5 years nobody's ever asked me about it.
It's crazy.
And so I've had detectives from the city of Phoenix call me, right, about people I have interviewed. State of Arizona. Hey, you interviewed this person. Where are they? We, the state of Arizona, are responsible for taking care of. So people reach out to me that are of authority. Police, the state, but why are they not reaching out about these folks, right? So I know they're watching. What I'm saying is I know authorities are watching my channel.
Yeah.
Because they literally call me. But why are they not asking about this group of people that are out here victimizing these victims, you know. So, but the more we shake the trees, I think eventually they'll have to.
You kind of have to answer the call at some point.
At some point.
So I guess final question: you believe that whether or not it's Midnight Productions or not, there is a group that's doing this stuff, right?
Without a doubt.
Do you think it's Midnight Productions?
I'm gonna say yes, because that's the name that these folks know them by. You know? So who came up with the name? Right? If nobody has escaped their grasp, where did the name come from? Is it just what this population identifies them as, just to give them a name? So I'm gonna say yes, and regardless if there's no name, if it's just random individuals doing the same things, victimizing these people, they still need to be stopped.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's a group or individuals just randomly doing this on their own, they need to be stopped as well, because there's definitely people are being victimized for sure. And some of the people I've interviewed, where are they? Haven't heard from them. Their parents call me, hey, you interviewed my daughter 2 years ago. Have you seen her? I haven't. Well, where are they?
It's freaky.
Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you having the discussion with us. Some really dark stuff, but yeah, I mean, based on what we've heard from multiple people now, there is 100% something that is going on at minimum, even if it's not, you know, a shadowy criminal enterprise called Midnight Productions. And it's interesting hearing the stories of repeated people targeting them with cars, you know, because what you read online is they got me to get into the car and then they brought me back to a house where they videotaped me getting, and I managed to get away. It just makes me wonder how many people have been gotten away.
Right.
There's no census, you know, on the homeless population, really, because so many people are just out there, and it's unfortunate that that's what, like, society would deem as people that aren't worthy of help, you know. It's such a callous mentality that people have, but it's true.
The people that I interview are, so we have a pretty extensive network of highways, freeways here in Phoenix. And the people that I interview, they're right off the freeway, because the dealers, easy access to go drop stuff off, get their money, and get on the freeway, and boom, they're out, right? Quick Trip, QT, Circle K, convenience stores, gas, you know. So you'll have a lot of people that I interview hanging out at these stores because that's how they panhandle, and that's how they meet their plug, their dealer. And so, but who else is using it? The people that are chasing them, the Midnight Productions, they're the individuals. You know, okay, let me go look for a victim. Oh shoot, she's by herself. Oh, she's right off the freeway. Let me go try to lure her with $50 to get in my vehicle for, you know, a date. That's it. That's the last time anybody is gonna see that person, you know?
That's the craziest part too. I mean, because you can pull up to a gas station and look like a just normal citizen, and no one would bat an eye about it, and it doesn't make you stand out. And so it's not that, like, a shady car driving down a back alley where no one's there and he sees a girl walking there and, like, grabs them and pulls them in their car. I mean, it might happen every once in a while, but in reality, this is probably how it's happening. And I mean, that's just really freaky to me.
Normal looking people doing evil things.
And this is so prevalent with this population here in Phoenix. Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the nation. We have such a big problem with these individuals, right? Just so many. Society doesn't acknowledge them anymore. No, I don't got $1. You know, it's the kind of throwaways. We don't pay attention anymore. Mm-hmm. We just step over them. The guy that's laying on the sidewalk, we just step over them, and instead of checking if they're okay, if they're alive, you know. I've been driving, I've literally seen dead bodies in the alley, you know. And so we become so used to it, accustomed to it, that the bad guys take advantage of that. You know, that's what's going on. That adds to it. I believe. I firmly believe in that.
All that is incredibly disturbing stuff. They're torturing people, abducting people, people, selling and harvesting organs, and it's only going to get worse from there. Now, I want to point out, weirdly, for this trip, this was the first video I ever filmed with that big VHS camera you've seen me using, and the entire tape of the midnight production stuff that we shot completely broke. I don't know what happened there. Like, the whole tape is gone. So a bunch of B-roll got lost, stuff from interviews, and just little things. But I'm going to cut right now to our first night in Phoenix when we set out to investigate Midnight Productions, and this is where it gets really scary. All right, so we just got to Phoenix today. Our plan was to interview some of the people who unfortunately live here on the streets of Arizona. We wanted to try to talk to some people, but the sun sets really early here, and we didn't even realize there's the Final Four college basketball teams playing a championship in town. But we're starting off tonight. Obviously, we're going to take you guys with us as we explore some of these spots that I've done some research into. I just want to point this out. I think it's weird. So I bought this Sony VHS camera for this trip because I love the VHS look. You guys have seen it in my documentaries in the past. I try to put VHS glitches, so I figured why not get an old camera and actually film on it. I popped in this tape that the guy I bought it from sent with us, and it's like video of a bunch of kids in Mexico on a mission trip. And I don't know, isn't that just kind of strange? Like, I feel like it's really weird when we're filming a video right now about like and like just a random videotape of children. Who knows like what the hell happened to these kids, like where they ended up. This is from 2003. And look, here, I'll play you a clip, but I'm gonna have to cut the music because there's like some copyrighted music behind it, but look at this. Please continue praying for our brothers and sisters in Aguajita. I just think it's bizarre, man. It's obviously nothing, but I just think with the subject matter that we're diving into on this video, it's really an odd synchronicity. And it's, I don't know. We're both a little nervous tonight, but I guess it's time to head off, man. You ready?
Let's do it.
So before we head out tonight, I just want to state, this is our first night, and this is a story that I've been passionate about diving into for months now. So it's weird to be here in person, but it's also kind of eerie because, to me, two distinct possibilities exist in this case. On one hand, you have the possibility that all of this is fake. None of it's happening. There's no child, there's no murder ring that's abducting homeless women, videotaping them being tortured and murdered. That doesn't exist. The other possibility, the only other possibility, is that this stuff is happening here in Phoenix where we are, and nobody's talking about it. And by barking up the wrong tree, who fucking knows what's gonna happen. Definitely a little more on edge. Ghost hunting is easy. Connor and I say it, we're not afraid of ghosts. Definitely afraid of the living, and these people, if they're real, could definitely kill us. So,
people are way more scary than a ghost is. I mean, the things that we're pursuing tonight, this is stories of murderers, people who are dismembering people, assaulting them, raping them. I mean, this is some really, really fucked up shit that we're getting into. And there's people that are coming up missing about stuff like this, that are talking about this. So, I mean, it's really scary stuff.
Well, I think it's time we go, man.
I think so.
You ready?
Let's do it.
So, right now we're driving in Phoenix. The first place we wanted to go visit was a number of areas in town that are known for trafficking. These areas are trafficking hotspots. Right now we are approaching 51st Avenue and McDowell. This is an area where I've seen plenty of news reports about how many stings have occurred here. Something eerie that I think about is, let's say you see a sex worker on the street. More than likely that means that the person pimping them out, controlling them, the trafficker, they're probably somewhere in the area too. I don't know. I just feel like if Midnight Productions is real and they're operating and they're doing some skeezy shit, I feel like this would be definitely an area that they could potentially target. It's almost like the hunting grounds of these people. And yeah, I mean, we've passed easily 5-6 women walking up and down the street just now, which is sad and terrifying at the same time. I can't even imagine, can't imagine what it's like. This is just the start. 51st Avenue and McDowell here in Phoenix. This is a sex trafficking hotspot here in the city. And this stuff, by the way, is happening everywhere in America, in every city in America, every single day. It just isn't talked about. Did you hear somebody fucking like screaming?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? So all the B-roll of that street and these houses that we're going to be talking about, all that stuff is gone because it was on that camera. But I do want to point out, the thing that I was really pissed off that we lost on that camera was a small clip. So Connor and I stopped at a Raising Cane's because we saw what looked like a police officer outside. He ended up just being security. But we got out of the car, we went over, and we asked the security guard, what do you know about Midnight Productions and trafficking in this area? And he literally looked like a ghost. His color drained from his face. He looked at us and he said, "Don't say that too loudly around here, and be careful who you ask that to." And we were like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "This is just a really bad part of town, man. You don't know like who's out here." Which we got back into the car after that and we were like, holy f, that is crazy. So we had already come across a guy out in public who seemed to believe in Midnight Productions. After that, we knew that I'm really, really mad that I lost that clip, because I know somebody out there is going to be like, oh, that didn't happen. But it did. I swear on everything in my life it did happen. But after that, we started heading through the Midnight Productions hotspots, where the torture hotels, snuff film rooms, all of that is located.
Is the world's oldest profession on the rise in your neighborhood?
Two trafficking survivors driving across the valley with us, pointing out the places they used to work that could see a resurgence.
It's Thursday night, just after 11 o'clock. When most of the valley is asleep, 27th Avenue between Indian School and Northern starts to come alive. Dozens of women walking the streets, selling for money. It took no time at all to see activity, and in a 30-minute span, our 12 News cameras capturing Phoenix police officers questioning two women on suspicion of prostitution. They find out this girl is just 17, so they hold her until she gets picked up by a relative.
Any stretch of road that you have girls working on is a track.
This woman claiming to be visiting from out of town, a story they've heard several times over. With no evidence of a crime being committed, they let her go. She goes back to walking up and down the track. This routine painfully familiar for two young women.
I know these sidewalks by heart.
Both of them trafficking survivors.
I would come out at like 7 or maybe 8 o'clock at night, and I would be out here until 6 or 7 the next morning.
I dealt with all different kinds of people from all different economic backgrounds.
There was no way to anticipate what your day was gonna look like and who you were gonna have to spend it with.
Another busy spot, 51st Avenue and McDowell.
A lot of these hotels would have trick staying in them too.
And a couple of blocks from there, the truck stop just south of the 10.
I would try my hardest to make enough money to not have to go to the truck stop. Pretty much any part of town that you go in, there's gonna be somewhere where this is going on. Yeah, I was scared, but I guess I had to do it, or I thought I had to do it.
In the case of nearly every sex trafficking victim, they're working under the control of a pimp. According to these survivors, he was almost always close by, lingering at a bar or gas station.
He would be there as soon as it was done and come and pick up the money.
So everything that we present here on this episode has to be taken with a grain of salt. Like I've said many times, we're actively investigating a sex ring that has never been caught, has never been proven, but there are hundreds of alleged victims that have shared their testimonies. And I did a ton of research for this video, like days and days of research. And an address that consistently kept appearing in the research is in this neighborhood right here, which is creepy being here right now because I've seen images of this neighborhood on Google. Apparently, in one of these houses, there is a torture murder hotel, is what they refer to it as. Basically, it's a building where some of the traffickers from Midnight Productions in the past have taken victims, assaulted them on video, tortured them, and murdered them. Created these snuff films in a house in this area. Obviously, yeah, we don't know if that's true. I have nothing that could possibly prove that that's true, other than the fact that on like 5 different message boards that I found talking about this stuff, there were different users from different years discussing this house in this area. This is a very normal looking neighborhood. You just expect families to be living here. You would never imagine the things that happen here are straight out of a fucking nightmare. The details of this whole case read like a horror movie. It's fucking eerie. It's supposedly right around here. And the people that I read talking about this said that there are multiple bodies buried on this property and that the police know that this is happening. And obviously part of the whole thing is that they're in on it. This is what trafficking looks like. This is what file rings look like. They look like normal fucking houses on normal fucking streets with normal fucking people that live in them. It's just the things that they do behind the closed doors that are as far from normal as you can possibly get. I just wanted to drive through this area and kind of show you guys what it looks like. Dude, look at more cops. This is like, I don't know what the hell happened tonight, but dude, look at him. Bro, what the fuck?
Train's coming. Did you notice that none of them were marked cars?
Yeah. When do you see that? Even
I think it's really weird that there's that many on, but they're all unmarked cars.
That was crazy, dude. We're on the trail of Midnight Productions, and I've done a lot of research into this subject. I don't know what's going on in Phoenix in this area this evening. There is a massive police presence. Back when we were filming, just 30 minutes ago, we saw 5 cars speeding by, and just now right here we saw an additional 4 police cars, and we could hear sirens. We're in Tempe, Arizona, which is 20 or so minutes from where we were just filming. Right behind me, you can see this is the Hayden Mill, the old mill in Tempe. This area has come up in the last couple of decades. Like, a lot of these buildings are new, and back in the day, this old mill was just completely abandoned, and actually the renovation just started on this place a couple years back. But from what I researched online, I also saw multiple people talking about how this mill, back when it was empty, used to be a Midnight Productions hotspot. I mean, when you think about it, it's perfect. A building like this is still in the city limits, but it's very, very isolated. It's huge. There's multiple levels to it. If it's true the authorities were in on this whole thing, they could have been protecting, making sure nobody came in. under the guise of trespassing while some weird shit was going down.
And from what we've gathered tonight,
There's some weird shit going on in Phoenix.
So, look at that.
Yeah. This light is crazy bright, dude. It's not only crazy, it's absolutely eerie to me to think about just what happened inside of this building. I mean, genuinely. Once again, if you go with the whole, who knows if this is true or not. If this is true, if this story actually happened, that means there were multiple people murdered, assaulted, then murdered, mutilated, tortured on camera inside of this building, and it's been completely covered up. I'm not going to say that it's true, but if you do research into the subject, this place comes up a lot as a hotspot. So we can walk over, look at it. I mean, seriously, imagine back in the day, this is shrouded in darkness. There's a tunnel providing access into that huge building without anybody seeing you. Like, that's filled in for a reason. Stuff's just been put in there. So the next day, we wanted to get up and go ask members of the local homeless population for ourselves. Do you guys know what Midnight Productions is? And even if you don't know who or what Midnight Productions is, do you know, just in general, anybody who's gone missing off the streets, who's vanished? Because it's not like if someone disappears in Phoenix, they're just gonna come out and proclaim it's Midnight Productions and we took them. Like, they're gonna leave no evidence at all. And if you really consider this theory as involving authority figures, police, law enforcement, these people are gonna make sure that their tracks are completely covered and they're not gonna leave any evidence. And like I said, if there's authorities in it, they even could go in and delete security camera footage, lie, make false police reports, falsify evidence. There's a lot of reasons why this stuff could be covered up so easily. But let's talk to those guys on the street now.
Hi, my name is George from Phoenix, Arizona. And what I've heard about Midnight Productions, I've heard about that and that. No, that's not shit. That's just not good. I don't like that shit about men coming around whipping women. Like, how is that? How are you gonna do that? How are you just gonna come around, find a woman that you don't even know or anything? Like, how are you just gonna come from another state or wherever you're from and come to Phoenix, Arizona and just be trying to rape somebody or something? Like, that's not good.
They would talk about, like, they would kidnap kids and would put them in crates or some shit like that, and they'll take them somewhere and nobody would know where they're at. And
yeah, they'll,
like,
crazy because take them somewhere and just hide them and keep them. But it's crazy because I know how it is here. Born and raised from Phoenix, Arizona. And even though I'm born and raised, but I kind of hate Phoenix, Arizona now. Just because all this shit that's going on here. Like, dude, that's not right. And especially with people going around trying to women. Like, no. How are you just gonna go and do that? That's not right.
Have you ever heard of anybody getting abducted and just never being seen again that you've known?
At the time, I am currently homeless. And I hate it, but it's something I'm going through. So, yes, a few weeks ago, I was by the shelter. Some guy picked up some girl. And ever since, I have not seen her.
Do you have any idea where she went? Who would have taken her?
I don't know. I know it was some white guy, but I don't know where he was from. I don't know nothing about him. He just came up rolling around. And that's what's crazy too, because people, when you stay downtown, a lot of people just work around here. They think they can roll around downtown and just pick somebody up.
So how long has that girl been missing?
From what I know of now, maybe a little over a month and a half now.
Damn. Right over in this area?
Yes.
Because this is like doing our research. This
whole area is like real bad. Like
yes.
everything.
Well, what's crazy, there's people that talk about Midnight Productions online, and 3 of the addresses that they listed were on Van Buren and like in this 5-mile stretch.
Yes.
Of like houses where they take these women and film them getting like raped and murdered, which is fucking scary.
One of the locations is like behind the boxing gym over.
Oh yeah, literally right there. What about you guys? Have you heard anything about Midnight Productions or sex trafficking?
Well, I heard a little bit about it, and they talked about like how they would capture these people and they'll bring them to a place to where they don't know where they're at. But then
yeah, like they'll try to.
They're like inside some kind of tunnels.
Drug them or something, and they'll take them somewhere to where like they not trying to know where they're at. But it's crazy because some women sometimes too, even though when they do that, they still know where they're at. They're looking out where they're going, and that's always a good thing. But from what I've heard lately, nobody's been looking out, and yes, I've heard about one woman up here being abducted and just disappeared. And I ain't seen her ever since. And it's been over a month and a half, going on 2 months now.
Damn.
And she was a real beautiful woman.
When they capture these people, like, you don't see their face because their face is covered and everything. So can't really.
Yeah. 3 guys tried to grab one of my friends, his girlfriend from a parking lot.
Really?
They went there together, and she was waiting outside the car, and he was walking away from the car, and then he just stopped. And I don't know, I'm not sure why he turned around to look. You know, he turned around and looked at her, and he's seen 3 guys with masks on, like he just said, and grabbing her. And then he ran back, and they got to a fist fight, and the 3 guys ran off, hopped in the car and left.
That's fucking scary.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if that's any connection to anything, but that's not an everyday occurrence, you know?
No.
Like, honestly, I can tell you this right now too. I was by the shelter right down the street, and I guess some woman that stays there, she not all there, she talks to herself.
Yeah, a lot of them are like that.
And just cause she said you bitch or something, some guy goes and starts beating her up and starts stomping on her head. Like, how the you gonna be doing that, dude? And then what I didn't like either is a security guard came up to him and talked to him and just let him go. Like, what the fuck? How the fuck you gonna do that, dude?
See a lot of that shit here in Phoenix, especially.
You mean just like violence?
Yeah.
Violence, a lot of racially motivated events. And where I'm from, New York,
With the Midnight Production.
it's nothing like this. Nothing like this at all. You know, I've been here for almost 3 years, and this is like another world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the homeless issue, the drug issue, the lack of concern from the government.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what the women being assaulted, vanishing. No big deal. People sitting on the corner doing drugs, not a big deal. You know, someone homeless sitting on the sidewalk, sleeping on the sidewalk, not a big deal.
It's crazy.
You don't care.
It's crazy too, because I mean, with the research that we've done, a lot of people are saying that, I mean, the police and the government are involved in Midnight Productions.
Yes.
Yeah,
because that didn't happen.
They're all involved. They're not gonna tell you nothing.
So someone goes missing, someone files a police report, They're not gonna do anything about
They're
it.
not gonna do anything. They're just gonna let everything happen. They're literally just gonna make it look like, oh, well, it's on the police hands.
Yeah.
Like police can handle it. But what are the police gonna do about it? Nothing. They're just gonna sit there, maybe look through it for maybe a day or two, and after that, it's nothing to them.
Well, look at Montana. Over 20 years, all these women, there's one particular stretch of road, vanishing. You would think in 20 years you'd, find a lead or something.
Right.
I mean, something. But no. I've known a lot of women here that I've seen every day, spoke to.
But that shit happens here a lot.
Really?
Just next day, weren't at breakfast, weren't there, wouldn't answer my calls, nothing. Yeah, then the next day, call again, your phone number's out of service.
Really?
Yeah. These are people, whether they're from Arizona or have family here, just vanish. Gone.
Yeah, that's fucking scary.
I mean, granted, you got to allow for, people sometimes just pack up and leave and move. Yeah, shit happens. But
the people that are supposed to be looking after everybody out here isn't doing their job. And so whether or not the police are involved in it, there's not justice.
They'll look for a few weeks.
Yeah.
But then after that,
there's
they'll
no
give up
accountability.
because they don't know what's going on. Like, okay, well, if she's okay or if they're okay, we'll hear back from them.
Yeah. And even if Midnight Productions isn't real, but people are still getting abducted and just
every
beaten,
day.
It's like, it's fucking wild to me that the police don't actually treat any of this seriously, or the local government. Like, what do you guys think could be done to help the situation?
Yesterday that I seen that woman getting her head stomped on. That guy fucking went up to him. He had him stop for a little bit, like maybe 5-10 minutes. After that, he let him go. A couple other security guards running after him. They caught him. Cops showed up, but the dude was already gone. He ran.
Yeah. So what do you even do at that point? They're already gone.
Yeah. There's nothing nobody can do.
Yeah, once you leave the scene, it's kind of hard to make an arrest or get a proper conviction. Has to have some kind of validity somewhere.
Well, awesome, guys. I don't want to...
So after speaking with those guys, it was really starting to get real. I mean, these are people who have had experiences with women going missing off of the streets. Phoenix itself has hundreds of homeless deaths every single year. I remember seeing a news report. I played a little bit of it at the beginning. I believe last year, halfway through the year, they had 300 homeless deaths already, which is hard to believe. And those are just, I believe, the deaths. I don't even know, unfortunately, if somebody who has no family, who's out alone on the streets, if they have no connections to anybody, if they went missing, who would even be there to report it? As sad as that sounds. So you really don't even know. Midnight Productions could be snatching these people off of the streets, and if they pick these targets that are completely alone, they're extremely vulnerable, they're drugged up, it's unfortunate, but it would almost be like they vanished. But we wanted to get some cold hard information, so that afternoon we met with the Arizona Anti-Trafficking Network, which is a group dedicated to exposing sex traffickers, educating the public on what sex trafficking is, and protecting our youth. And here's our interview with them. First, I would just like you guys to introduce yourselves and kind of the organization that you're with.
My name is Stacy Sutherland, and I work for the Arizona Anti-Trafficking Network, and we cover the state of Arizona fighting human trafficking through prevention, education, awareness, outreach, and then we have a scholarship fund for survivors of human trafficking.
My name is Nate Bolter, also with AATN, and I'm currently running the city program where we go out and train cities and get them designated as anti-trafficking cities.
Awesome.
Our vision is to create an Arizona where no one is bought, sold, or exploited. And I think we can agree, like, the number one thing that we can do is bring awareness and education to people, because there are so many misnomers of what human trafficking really is. But then when you talk about that, there's other things that we do as part of that, like prevention efforts with youth, like very vulnerable youth, outreach with those who might be in a trafficking situation. Everybody has a role to play, and that's kind of our goal, is getting everyone in Arizona involved, no matter what they do or who they are.
It's a good way to look at it. I mean, really, when you think about it, it is every single part of society is kind of touched by this.
Yeah, every single time we go out and do a training, somebody comes up to you afterwards and says, I have a private question, or hey, I have a family member doing this. And truly, like, especially right now, and you guys have a lot of social media presence and everything like that, those platforms for kids and predators are like synonymous. And so we really need to do a lot of age-appropriate prevention and education for those groups, because that's what leads those kids into that stuff. And that's where, you know, our predators are, is all online.
For people who might be watching this video and are kind of just, they don't really understand what trafficking is and what it looks like, can you guys just explain the concept?
The way we look at it is children under the age of 18 cannot consent to commercial. That's a federal law, and then most state laws mimic that federal law. So when we say commercial sex and exchanging something for value, literally we can assign value to any item in this world. So if they're trading sex for drugs, a place to stay, a McDonald's cheeseburger, a Louis Vuitton bag, whatever they're trading that sex act for, we consider them to be victims of trafficking. They don't have to have a trafficker to be a victim of trafficking. So even if that juvenile is, you know, doing it on their own without that third party, they're still a trafficking victim. So that makes it really, really easy. So a buyer can be charged as a trafficker.
A lot of our victims who are adults now got started as youth. And so, and then, I mean, we just had a case pop up recently where the victim was 50 years old. So it's not just your kids and everything. It's literally people get roped into this because they get taken advantage of. They don't understand what it is. And with this commercial stuff, when we ask people like, hey, what's a commercial sex act? Everybody automatically jumps to, well, it's prostitution. But there are sex acts that happen in person, online. People are being forced into making sex videos and sex content that they're not getting paid for. And again, you don't know that if you are a purveyor, you're a buyer purchasing these things, and that person is going through this trafficking ordeal. The educational component for this is so important because it looks so different, and it's not the kids that are bound and tied up to a bed in a room, and it's not the kids with duct tape over their face. It looks wildly different in real life, and again, you're in the customer service industry, and so you may be talking to a young adult who's telling you, oh my gosh, you have the best beard ever, I love your mustache. But again, they're telling you that because they have to come up with funds for a quota that they have every single day. So like I said, and guys are just like, oh yeah, no man, look, she likes me, like I'm helping her, I'm paying her way through college, or you know, I'm helping her out, when in reality she's a victim having to do this day in and day out.
Trafficking, like rings, is that a real thing? Is that a myth? Are there actual like groups of people that it's a business to them?
So let's go back to the scenario I just presented. If Stacy is making $300,000 off of me and she brings you in, how much does she now make? And he brings him in. And so the thing is that in Arizona, we actually have a very affluent economy. We have a lot of really nice areas and everything. So that quota may not be $1,000. It might be $2,000. Okay. But so every single time that Stacy brings in a new product, because that's what we are, possession of product for her, if we're looking at $2,000 a day because we're rolling in Scottsdale or North Phoenix or somewhere else, that $300,000 a year just went to like $1.8 to $2 million she's making off of us. So it behooves traffickers, and that is their game plan, is to constantly be in the recruiting phase, constantly be in the working phase, because her products are going to fall off at some point, and she's got to have somebody else come in.
And then I create this dynamic, right? Like we're a family, we're a unit, we work together, right? But everyone's giving me the money, and I'm just like, oh, okay, here's some money for a McDonald's cheeseburger today. Oh, there was an outreach today. They gave you free condoms. They gave you clothes. Cool. I don't have to buy condoms or anything this week because you were able to get that for free. Like, it's you know, and then it depends on what type of venue of trafficking. Like there's multiple venues. So if we talk about massage parlors, right, there's organized crime elements in that. So there's rings in the sense of, yeah, there's buyers, there's people, there's multiple victims. Sometimes traffickers link up and work together. You know, sometimes there's gang involvement. So yes, there's rings. You know, we have parents that traffic their kids. So we talked about kind of that misnomer of like, you know, it's this big hulky guy. One of the things we do in trainings is I've seen traffickers look like me, but if I'm in the grocery store, you're going to be like, oh, she's a mom with their 3 kids. She's just like, you know, running around, her boys running around being a little crazy in the grocery store, right? You're not going to think, oh, that could be a predator. That could be a bad person, right? Because our brains automatically think, well, this is what a trafficker is going to look like, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that dynamic is hard to understand. And, you know, if you're in a small town and you're being trafficked, who are your buyers? Who are the people that are perpetrating? Does everybody knows your business, right? And it could be affluent people, right? It could be the mayor, it could be whoever. Buyers come from all walks of life.
So that also brings up a question. We talked about what people look like. Are there any other myths about sex trafficking that you guys would like to kind of...
There's so many myths about sex trafficking. And again, I think the biggest one is the perception of what it looks like. It doesn't look like Pretty Woman, but it doesn't look like kids being bound and gagged. That's going to be, again, the rare exception. And a lot of it's metaphorical. Kids with tape on their mouth, they can't open up and ask for resources. If their hands are bound because they can't reach out and ask for help. Because again, it's a different dynamic. A lot of times our victims voluntarily, because they've been tricked into this, will leave with their traffickers. There's not a forced component in it. They are choosing like, you know what, I'm in love with you, I want to go with you. And so that's what you see. Again, the panel van thing is always the first one, but again, cops are really good at catching bad guys. And victims who would run from their trafficker, especially for a kidnapping, the cops are going to call everybody. They're going to call their friends. They're going to call the 3-letter federal agencies. They're going to turn on every newscast in America. Everybody's going to know what that looked like, and that dude's going to go to jail, which is not a good business plan for him. So like I said, it is much more subtle and much more dangerous because it literally comes through your kids' phones. It comes through their computers. It comes through places that parents are not familiar with. And you know, we talked about our age difference and stuff. My generation, like I'm kind of at the cusp where, like in high school, I learned how to use Word and Excel because these are new programs, you know, whereas kids nowadays, I mean, my little boy at school has a text-to-speech speaker, you know, feature on his computer that he uses at school all the time. And so you have mad amounts of technology that our kids are growing up with that I never dealt with. But again, predators are sitting back and they're literally sending out messages 10, 15 an hour on every social media platform, just telling them, oh my God, your blue eyes are amazing, that's great. And again, I'm gonna keep picking on your mustache. That mustache is amazing. You know? And so as they come back, all it takes is one little kid to say, oh my God, thank you. You think I'm pretty? Or, oh, thanks, I appreciate that. You think I'm cool? And then they'll take them down that rabbit hole. So they're constantly recruiting and constantly building their team or their empire or their family, you know. It's what they do.
And so that's how they kind of like psychologically manipulate these kiddos. And then it's like when you start getting that love and affection and that lots of complimentary and that attention in there, you know, it really changes the dynamic. And so I don't ever want to sound like we're victim blaming, but it's really easy to hook somebody in that way. And because all of us, we all want to be loved. We all want to feel love and we want to feel those nice things in the world and like be complimented and things. And so it's a really easy manipulative tool to get in with somebody is to just kind of start that way. And so, you know, victims don't see that. They're like, oh, this is my friend. And then I've got to know him and now he's my boyfriend and he loves me. And, you know, and so it's really an indoctrination.
It's not like the trafficker's going to be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm a trafficker. You want to come work with me?
Right.
100%.
Yeah,
it's different.
You get parents that don't know, and they give their kid a phone. Then, like you were saying, like you would never take your kid and leave them in the middle of Phoenix at night from like midnight till 6 a.m. Be like, yeah, I'll see you at 6. You know, but you give them that phone and leave it in their room overnight, and their parents don't know because like, oh, my kid's a gem. They would never ever be doing this. But it's not that your kid's bad. There's somebody with bad intentions that's communicating and talking to your kid all night long. And so, and again, like Stacy said, it's not ever victim blaming. This is the reality. People who are designed and who are putting effort into learning how to manipulate people, do it online. And they do it very successfully because we all want to be loved, we all want to be popular and everything else, but that's the easiest way for me to lure you in is by promoting that.
So that brings me to my next question. Is there a link between pedophilia and trafficking? Is that something you guys see? Not like a link in all cases, but is that something that you see, like people specifically looking for children to sleep with, or something, you know, we're talking about minors being engaged online. What's that kind of look like?
Based on some of the studies and the tracking of numbers, especially here in Arizona, we saw an uptick in familial trafficking during COVID, and we saw, a lot of people looking to purchase with children during that time. But it's kind of basic supply and demand. Like, if the demand is out there, somebody is going to meet that supply. And again, all walks of life. So, sometimes they're coaches, sometimes they're teachers, sometimes they're doctors, right? They're attorneys. Like, buyers can be anybody. Gosh, when was that thing? Was it like about a year and a half ago? It was a pediatrician looking to buy the young boy, right? And he was a pediatrician at one of the hospitals, and it made the news. But again, it's like there are people that are out there looking for it, and the internet has made it more accessible than ever, right?
Okay, absolutely. And again, you have those who target children on the dark web, those who are trying to create content with them, and then you have an entire different market, which is I just want to buy sex with them, because it is two different things where you're looking at that, and like Stacy said, the accessibility and what we've done in our culture has just flourished this ability. We have taken the hypersexualization of our youth and cranked the flame up and been like, look at all these beautiful kids, and we dress them as adults. We dress them very provocatively. We have TV shows that cater to that. In fact, Netflix got a lot of negative publicity a year and a half, 2 years ago because of pushing kids. And again, that is, you bring kids into the realm, you're going to have people say, that's what I want. And whether or not they had that predisposition before, they're going to develop a desire for it.
We've covered kind of the basics of trafficking and everything like that. I want to focus now on Arizona and what trafficking is like in Arizona. Because, from just what I've read, it's one of the states that has one of the worst problems with sex trafficking. What's the reasoning behind that? Like, what's going on?
Well, we have, and again, depending upon the study, Arizona ranks either 14th to 18th on as far as sex trafficking. It's that guys who come to Arizona, predominantly dudes, and 98% of them, when guys come to Arizona, they're willing to do things in somebody else's backyard that they wouldn't be willing to do if they were home with their spouse or something else like that. And one of the biggest studies that was ever done by Demand Abolition shows that just over 5% of all guys who are sex buyers are willing to buy sex if the conditions are right. So 1 in 20 guys is somebody who's like, hey, if everything presents itself right, I'm willing to buy sex. And so, one of the numbers that we used, everybody kept throwing out, before the Super Bowl came, Super Bowl's going to bring 1.5 million people to the Valley. It's going to be huge. It's going to be awesome. Well, you can conservatively say that probably half of the people that went to the Super Bowl events were probably guys. So 750,000. Well, if you're looking at 5% of those dudes, that's 37,500 guys were here who were willing to buy sex if the conditions were right. And so during that time, our law enforcement partners and nonprofit guys that all work together, there were 362 arrests made during that time. And I always ask people hey, 37,500 versus 362, was that a successful time? And people look at the number, well, no. It's yes, it was. It was awesome. It was a lot of work. Okay? But the thing is those guys were willing to buy if it looked right. It didn't say that they were going to buy. But what's even more radical is after the Super Bowl and all that stuff got done, the city of Scottsdale came out and they had a big news article. They hosted over 1.5 million people alone not including what was brought to Glendale and Phoenix and everything else. So that number could have been doubled or even tripled because they had, I mean, just crazy turnouts in Scottsdale for those events. So like I said, it really takes, and it's not that the Super Bowl's bad. It's not the waste management. It's just where dudes go and dudes drink and dudes aren't with, they're going to do dumb dude things. And again, we got to stop that normalization of dudes being dudes, you know, and educate them like, hey, the girls that are being shipped in here because of these events, or the girls that are coming here, or our people who are here being trafficked locally, they're being victimized. It's not that they want to do this, you know. And so, like I said, that message needs to be out there. So guys, stop thinking, hey, this is okay. If you go to Vegas, it's still not okay. It's not legal to do in Vegas. So, you know, so like I said, that normalization of beliefs really has got to change.
Or just like, hey, dude, don't do that to your wife. That's awful. Like
bare minimum. Yeah, bare minimum.
Like, hey, let's be a good husband and let's not do that.
Yeah, because you said on the phone the other day, what was the percentage roughly of men that have engaged in that?
So we know, like, kind of what Nate said, 1 in 20 is we know in Arizona, so it's about 5 to 10% given what our population is. But I mean, it's true. Like, what happens when we get, like, you know, if you go out with 20 buddies to a bar, is there going to be a little bit of chaos? Is there going to be a little less decision making going on? Are you going to be a little more impulsive? Are you going to maybe do like a bachelor party, right? You're going to do maybe some things that you wouldn't normally do, right? Like, so, but there are people that, you know, we know there's people that travel for work. They travel 60% of the time. And like our hoteliers have told us, like, people will come up and be like, so where can I buy sex here in Phoenix? Like, you know, like when they travel, that's what they do is they buy an escort or they buy someone to have sex with, right? And when you talk to these sex buyers, they have this rationale. They're like, oh, it's all good. It's just you and I having fun. It's like, I don't have to worry about your feelings. I don't have to, like, I get mine, you get yours, whatever. But it's, again, that bringing up that transactional type thing. But again, how do you know? How do you know that person's an adult, right? We have minors that look like adults, right? If you're not carding them or asking them a CID, you don't know. How do you know that they have a trafficker or not? How do you know, like, all these things, like, how do you know you're being a good consumer, right? You can't tell that you're a good consumer. I've had an 18-year-old buyer, I've had an 84-year-old buyer, everybody in between, right? But we talk about victims too, like we have the 2-year-old victim in Mesa. We've had, gosh, how old is that lady? Like 64? A 64-year-old victim, everybody in between, right? So we're talking spans of populations that go across generations, right? So it's not just, we can't just fit a victim in a box. We can't fit a buyer in a box. We can't fit a trafficker in a box. Like, that's the scary thing, is all of us are vulnerable human beings, and there will be vulnerable people, whether they're a buyer, a predator, or a trafficker, to take advantage of that vulnerable person.
So one of them, because it made the national news, actually a little over a year ago, it was December 26th. And again, this has had an awesome conclusion that just happened. Scottsdale Police Department rocked it. This, and I said it came out national news in January of last year, but the victim in this case was 54 years old. She was a housekeeper with a guy. She worked with a guy for several years in California. They moved to Tucson, where he finally started getting her like, oh, what if we took some pictures? You know, what if we just did that? And then it evolved obviously into the pictures to start having sex and stuff. And they get to Scottsdale, and in Scottsdale, finally, and this guy was a quirky dude. And again, traffickers are very, very unique individuals. He wanted his money counted a certain way, and she failed to do that. And so he grabbed her, threw her up against the fridge, strangled her, and started beating her because she miscounted the money and didn't have it laid out properly. And so finally, Scottsdale Police Department gets called. And the wild thing is dealing with Scottsdale, talking with these dudes, and they are awesome. They're a great, great team. They said that throughout this month and a half that she was living in Scottsdale with this dude, if the neighbors had just talked, they would have had the entire case wrapped up within the first week, but nobody called the cops.
Yeah.
And so what happened was one person came in and said, yeah, my parking spot is right here by this condo. There's always dudes showing up parking in my spot. Somebody had a Ring camera across from the other condo, and dudes 8 to 10 dudes a day are coming and going from this place. But they're like, no, but they were dressed nice. It didn't look like drug deals. So I didn't call the cops. And then other neighbors all had different aspects of what they had seen. And so Scottsdale PD, when they finally put all these pieces together, had an amazing case. But what you really learn in that case is that if you see something, please reach out. Like, be a witness. And a lot of us don't want to say anything, especially in cases because I don't want to piss off my neighbor. But that could have stopped that lady's victimization a month and a half prior. And honestly, and again, that trafficker just got sentenced. He's going to do some time in prison, which is fantastic. And Scottsdale did a great job working that case and trying to get that victim. And that victim is in a safe place now and doing really well. But like I said, that's one experience for me when you talk about interesting, how if somebody would have just said something, it could have stopped the whole thing.
Yeah. You know, I think about a juvenile victim that was rescued in one of our smaller towns. They were staying in a extended stay suite. And again, the call for service for patrol was a family fight, right? And they have gone to human trafficking training. And so some of the patrol officers were like, something's not right here. And some of the things are just not making sense. And the little girl said a couple things that really just put off patrol's spidey senses. And they ended up doing a forensic interview, and it was mom and the boyfriend that were trafficking her. And again, made the news. But the mom just took a plea deal for 49 years. So the best thing about a plea deal is that victim, that child, doesn't have to go testify against her mom and her stepdad, and that person will be in jail for the rest of their life, prison. And so that child can start that healing process and not have to, you know, do all that. But we do a lot of outreach. We've got a lot of really beautiful stories. You know, we should never have the expectation that when working with a victim, we're not saviors. We're not rescuing anybody, right? We're not doing that. I don't like the word rescue. I don't rescue anybody. I always tell people we're gardeners, we're planting seeds, we're watering them. We should never expect a victim to accept help the first time. So it's gonna be multiple touches. So we do that on outreach. We do outreach a lot with a lot of our law enforcement partners and other NGOs. And we've had some really beautiful stories of just talking to people, and we use other survivors or lived experience experts to make that first contact with our victims as part of our team. And we've had several people who were like, yeah, you know what, I'm ready to get away from my trafficker. I'm ready to get out of the life. I want to get my kids back. We've had them go to school, start earning their educational degrees, go to trade school. And so we've had some really beautiful success stories. And that's what we want to do, is we want to, you know, empower survivors and let them know that they are not what happened to them. That can be a sentence in their story, it could be a paragraph, it could be a chapter, but it's not their entire story. And they've got so much more to life than what's happened to them.
Maybe in Phoenix, in this whole area specifically, is there any sort of a link between like organized crime and sex trafficking and sex workers? Or is it more just everybody's just kind of on their own?
So, yes. So when you're talking about organized crime, it may not be the mafia is running this, right? But again, you have a trafficker who is setting up an enterprise that, again, is organized. He's going to have what they call a bottom. That's somebody who's involved in helping recruit, helping train, help keep girls and boys in line of what they need to do. You're going to have possibly security individuals, gang members, especially. Gangs are all about hustling. They're about making dope or drugs, money. They're about prostitution. They're about everything. So whatever they can do to lift their elevation, they will do it. And I tell people all the time, my last year as the human trafficking sergeant in Mesa, our gang guys would be out investigating home invasions and stuff like that. And they'd be like, hey, you guys need to come down here. This dude's also trafficking his girlfriend. And she was a participant because she's in love with her boyfriend, who's a gangster, who's posting ads for her. So whatever hustle they can get going on. And again, that's organized crime. And Stacy brought it up, your illicit massage businesses, there's a reason why 90% of your illicit massage businesses are Asian run. You know, and again, we are talking about criminal enterprises that go back to South Korea, to go to China, that they go to their families and say, this is what you're going to do when you come to America. This is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to make money on. If you do that for us, we will take care of your family. if you don't do this for us, guess what's going to happen to your family? And again, we are talking about legitimate organized crime individuals. So those victims, when they come to the U.S., they come through ports like San Francisco, big Asian community areas. They get their massage licenses. They come over here, and they are part of an organized crime element. They meet a mama-san who, for all intents and purposes, is their pimp, right? They take them to and from the massage businesses. They handle all the financial stuff. That money then leaves here and goes back offshore. Yeah. But those victims, and it's so difficult to work with them because if they say anything, what's going to happen to their families? Mm-hmm. And that's a real threat. So, I mean, there was a case about a year and a half ago where a detective was doing a search warrant, and unfortunately he made a comment that well, nobody ever talks in these massage businesses. I don't know that they're even trafficking victims. Why are we doing this? And again, they can't talk to you. Yeah. If they do, there's life and death consequences on the other side of this. And so you shouldn't ever go into one of those places thinking we're going to save everybody. They're like, oh, hallelujah, you're here. I'm so glad. Right. Because they knew this was going to happen, but there wasn't a way for them to say no either. When they were approached, it's like, well, either you're going to do this or something else could happen. And again, that's very real for them. So it's very important that you are working a very big multifaceted approach where it involves street, it involves illicit massage businesses, it involves online predation. And again, it's everywhere in all walks of life. And it's, like I said, there's nobody that's immune to this. And every time we've done trainings, somebody has an experience that a family member's going through and they're asking for specific resources for them.
Homeless individuals and sex trafficking, what's those two concepts look like?
So
very hand in hand. And again, whenever you're looking at marginalized communities, people that don't have resources, that people don't have assistance, you're going to find exploitation. And so and Stacey's going to elaborate more on this. She's actually doing stuff right now, but you're going to find people that will say, do you need a bed for the night? I got you. But you're going to give me this, or we're going to do this. If you need food, what are you willing to do for food if you haven't eaten? And again, there are people that are going to say, well, for this $5 cheeseburger, this is what you're going to do for me. So again, you're always going to find exploitation in communities without resources. And unfortunately, here in Arizona, we have a very healthy population of individuals who don't have homes, do not have jobs, do not have that. And even with, Paz de Cristos and St. Vincent de Paul's, some of that, you're still going to find people taking advantage of them. So, go ahead.
So we know that we have a high number of homeless youth in Arizona, as well as, like Nate said, a robust population of homeless individuals or unhoused individuals. We actually just started doing some research with adult homeless. And so we're just basically chatting about, kind of their experiences growing up. So looking at their adverse childhood experiences or ACE score. So I recommend if you've never taken an ACE test to take it and see what your ACE score is, because the higher amount your ACE is, you can actually have physical health effects and detriments to those experiences. But a lot of them, should be no surprise, they have a high ACE score. A lot of them have been chronically homeless since their youth. So we're not talking hey, I lost my job, became homeless in my 30s. We're seeing a lot of addiction issues. But one of the things that was really striking in some of the few people, just this is anecdotally, the research hasn't come out yet, is we have people that are in their mid-30s who've been chronically homeless since teenage years, and they were sex trafficked under the age of 18. And so, again, I don't want to say that there's correlation there, but we can see the impact that trauma can potentially have on somebody for a lifetime. And then we do homeless youth surveys every year. And so, again, we see a very high amount of people that experience some form of labor or exploitation as part of their homeless experience. And so, and sometimes people refer to it as survival, right? Okay, I'm living rough, I'm living on the streets, I'll trade you for some drugs. I'll trade for something to eat. I'll trade to come be in your hotel room with you for the night or have a hot shower in that hotel room. So again, it's what as a society can we do better? And kind of like Nate said, altruistic people Like, you're not going to go up to this homeless person and be like, I'm going to buy you a hotel room for the night. Like, what do they want in exchange for that hotel room? So, you know, it's something that we see, again, that's a marginalized population. Someone's taking advantage of that vulnerability about, and it's really sad.
Yeah, one of the stats, so our partners at ASU STIR, which is their Trafficking Intervention Research Group, they did a study in southern Arizona of homeless youth, and one of the stats that came out, especially, and it was striking with me, I actually use it in my training, is 1 out of 3 girls that is between the ages of 18 and 24 reported being trafficked that out of the homeless youth. So again, that's huge that 30% of them had an active trafficking ordeal.
That's a massive chunk of the population, 30%. I mean, it's hard to, I feel like, wrap your head around that many people from a group, you know? So I've watched a lot of interviews with like homeless people in Phoenix, but a lot of them reference something called Midnight Productions.
I'm going to let Nate answer this one.
So Midnight Productions originally was noted as a snuff film group, right? And so being in law enforcement, we would get high profile cases and people say, oh, that was a victim of Midnight Productions. One of which, like Mikkel Biggs, one of the most cold case kidnappings in Mesa, there's ties to Midnight Productions. There are law enforcement officers who are like, 100% that's real, they exist. There are other law enforcement people who are like, no, it doesn't. Every single time it's come up, and like within my last like 2 or 3 years, with Mesa even, I got a call from a dude at ASU PD, and he's like, hey man, you guys got to come take care of this. It's in Tempe, but the victims are from Mesa, and it's Midnight Productions. This is where they're doing everything. We went, there was not an ounce of anything that you could find about anybody having been killed, anybody, you know, anything. And so, again, there are people in both camps. Does it exist? Does it? I personally think that they do not exist. Just based off what I've been through, I've never found anything in the multiple investigations that I've been called on that ever came back to a group that was Midnight Productions. Like I said, I have personal friends who have worked other cases that are like, no, 100% they're real, but there's never a place, there's never a name, there's never nothing. And it comes back to, I don't know if you've seen like The Usual Suspects, Kaiser Sose. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, nobody is Kaiser Sose. Like, and again, you're talking about, why has nobody ever been tied to it? Why has nobody ever been arrested? Why has never been found that this is the camera that had the imprint that caused this, that, you know, that came back to this film? Are there people doing snuff films? Yes. Are there people doing kidnappings and stuff to video? Yes. They're serial predators. Is it the same group? Is it the same people? I don't think so personally. But yeah, every time it comes up, and again, I kind of laugh because there are 2 big camps, even within law enforcement. It's like, no, it's 100% for realsies. And then there's other people that are like, yeah, no. So
that's funny because I would assume that it would be like, I was 100% sure that you were going to say that it wasn't real, but I would not expect the 50% to actually think it would be real.
We're going back over 25 years now,
yeah.
30 years now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that even predated my time with Mesa.
Really?
Yeah. And I did 22 and a half years with Mesa, and this June it'll have been 2 years since I've retired. So, I mean, you're looking at almost 24 years, but like I said, that was before my time even. So, like I said, I don't think it's there. Like I said, it comes back to Kaiser Sose. I mean, just it's a mythical person that nobody can touch, and there's
right.
never, that's the guy, you know. So
it's interesting that it's been talked about for a long time, because that's what we noticed. Just looking at all those interviews, people keep bringing that up, and it's like, it's almost like the boogeyman. I feel
it is,
you know, this group that could come target you when it's really real people, like traffickers that are coming after people they don't look like the evil shadowy group. It's like,
well, and the thing is, like down in Phoenix, those dudes that are doing documentaries down there, those are legit traffickers. Those are legit dudes who are, I mean, there are so many videos of pimps and traffickers beating victims of trafficking because they didn't make quota, because they disrespected them by looking at them. I saw one recently that, I mean, right in front of a laundry shop, there's like 5 or 6 other dudes and girls hanging around, and this dude's just waylaying this girl. and everybody's just sitting there, and then they put it out on social media. You know, Phoenix PD got involved in that case and worked it, but I mean, those are real people. Those are real suspects, you know. But, and again, with Midnight Productions, you never hear anything of anybody that's actually involved.
Yeah. Just to end this interview, for anybody who might be watching, like, this is two-pronged. One, what should they, like, look out for, even with, like, family members looking at their children or other loved ones? What kind of things can they kind of see that they might be able to make a change if this trafficking is going on? And two,
what is something you can do to like notify the people that you need to if you notice something like this?
So let's just say this. If you want to know more on indicators or how to report different levels of things like CSAM or have a national hotline, we have an Arizona Human Trafficking hotline, you can go to aatn.org/indicators. And we'll have all the phone numbers on that page, and then we'll have some downloads for indicators so you can look for stuff. But kind of as Nate said, like, it takes a village to raise kids right now. It takes a village to be a part of a community. It takes all of us working together. So if you see something, say something. Like, you're not going to be able to tell, like, if him and I are in a fight at a restaurant and I'm maybe crying behind glasses.
Right.
That's happened. You're not going to be able to tell it's a human trafficking situation. You might be like, oh man, they're in a fight. Like,
even if Nate didn't know there was a fight going on.
You might be like, wow, they're mad at each other. Like, wow, what's going on? Like, right? Or maybe he's being aggressive, or you can see his body language, and you're like, hey, he might hit that girl, or not that he would ever do that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. If you see something, say something. It might not be human trafficking, right? Like, those people called because they heard a domestic violence incident. Mm-hmm. It turned out to be trafficking. Again, you get called to a family fight. You hear, the cops hear, oh my gosh, there are sounds of this kid is being sold for commercial sex, right? They're being trafficked. So it's these elements of just learning more, hearing more. We're not going to know. I had a victim who was being beat up in a QT parking lot. Nobody called. You weren't going to know she was a victim, but if you would have called, like he said, hey, these guys are surrounding this girl and beating the crap out of her on the side of the road. Call 911. Like, they can intervene instead of, oh my gosh, it's been on social media for a week and now we're finally getting this. Like, right. A 14-year-old's on the street and she's run away and you've encountered her. Call somebody, right? It's being a good citizen and being due diligence, because what happens if now they're out there for another month because you didn't do anything, right? Right. That's on your conscience for not helping or calling.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting. At the very end of that interview, I thought that was unbelievable response. I mean, he said there's two camps in the Phoenix Police Department: those who believe in Midnight Productions and those who don't. He was talking about officers that swear their cases involve Midnight Productions, people who think the girl that I was talking about at the beginning, her death, her murder, is a Midnight Productions job. And I really do think, once again, I mean, I started out this whole journey thinking this is so fanciful. There's no way that this shadowy group is abducting and murdering people on camera in Phoenix. Every single person that we talked to led me to believe in them even more. Even though they didn't necessarily believe in Midnight Productions with the anti-trafficking network, just the fact that he said it could be up to half of the police officers in the Phoenix area that they believe in Midnight Productions. I mean, I feel like that speaks volumes, doesn't it? That shows that truly there is something going on. And if you have cops that believe in this theory, I'm inclined to believe that there's probably something going on. I mean, that was really interesting. That next night we filmed the paranormal investigation and we ended up in Tucson, Arizona. And let me play you a clip right now of something they found in Tucson just a few years ago.
In these trees, just on the left side of this fence, that's where this thing is.
This is a prison cell. Only kids are being held down here.
And they brought me into the camp and showed me the underground bunker. It was basically a giant plastic container with a hole only small enough for a child to crawl in and out of. And it was angled in such a way, and it was buried underground, that a small child that was in there could not have gotten out on their own.
They're having them slide up.
There's a child's vanity and a hospital toilet. That looks like a child's car seat. Strollers and children's toys and clothing and food packets and stuff like that. So clearly children had been kept here. All right, so with these straps. But one thing that was really disturbing was there were arm restraints, wrist restraints on 2 trees angled like this to where friends of mine that are investigators that do a lot of stuff on the border say, Craig, that's a tree. That looks exactly like wrist restraints for a tree. It doesn't look like anything else. This is clearly a disturbing and wrongful thing going on. It's inhumane. It's shocking and upsetting.
So as you've seen, sex trafficking is a huge problem in Arizona, and that bunker was uncovered in Tucson. Now, I couldn't find anything else about that, who it belonged to, any groups or people that were arrested afterwards, children that were found. I couldn't track down any information, but something that I will point out is that their Midnight Productions is said to operate out of houses, out of hotels and motels, inside of abandoned buildings is another big place where they film these snuff films and obviously all of that stuff. There's a hotel in Tucson that I read mentioned on a forum about Midnight Productions called the Minsk Hotel. This place is extremely dangerous. Just last year, they had 3 people murdered in one summer in the hotel, gun violence. And it's known across the city as like the worst motel in the city. The reviews are insane. We wanted to stop by and check the place out. And we were actually going to perform a paranormal investigation there and do some luminol testing and stuff. But when we got there, there were a bunch of police officers outside. And so, yeah, here's a little clip of us visiting the Minsk.
Yeah, I say we just get out of here. Yeah, I don't want to be the next victim. Yeah, it's a little ominous. So we forgot that we were going to start doing this at all these locations that we visit, but I'm going to start taking Polaroid photographs of all of this stuff, because these you can't erase, you can't wipe. So once we have these photos, we can link everything together. But I'm going to get one right here. Police just went into the hotel with gloves on. Something obviously happened here today. Or last night. What is it is the question. God, that's freaky.
So something that you have to mention when it comes to Midnight Productions, which you've heard in these interviews, is organ harvesting. Now that also sounds insane. Like, how is that even possible? There's no way that that's happening. I could easily write that off. You know, sane people would argue that, oh, that's too crazy to believe in. About a decade ago in Phoenix, not even a full decade ago, a business was busted. What it turned out to be was what they called a human chop shop. So people had been donating their bodies to science, to this organization, to this building. And when they dropped their loved ones' bodies off at this place, they thought they were being, donated to science and research. But instead, they were being carved up with chainsaws. The body parts were being sewn to each other. There was a bucket of in there. Just horrific stuff. And I mean, how weird is that, right? When do you hear of a body part harvesting facility? And something else really, really interesting is that facility actually sold body parts to the United States government. It was documented. So the US government was tied into this illegal, gruesome body harvesting shop. So let's follow the stream of thought. So if the US government and authority figures and officials in Arizona and Phoenix are involved with Midnight Productions, Midnight Productions is also made up of authority figures and those people, and Midnight Productions harvests organs and sells them on the black market. Well, when you uncover a gruesome body chop shop in Phoenix that has links to authority figures, I don't know what to tell you, but here's a clip of us visiting that place. So an interesting twist in the Midnight Productions case happened right here in Phoenix, Arizona. So in this building behind me in the 2010s, I want to say it was 2014, 2015, a human chop shop was uncovered. So people were selling organs on the black market out of this building. People were donating their bodies to science, and
Their bodies weren't going to science. They were being carved up. Inside of this building, they found buckets full of human heads and male a body with a woman's head stitched onto a man's corpse. This was a ghoulish scene. And when they eventually looked into all of this, they discovered that some of these bodies and body parts were being sold to the US government. So I think we're about to get kicked out of here, but we just wanted to show this, and we'll talk about it more in a second.
Against a body donation and tissue bank in Phoenix, Arizona. It was raided back in 2014 in a human body parts trafficking investigation. Brianna Whitney spoke to a man whose mom and grandmother were donated to that center. We warn you, some may find this story disturbing.
This is a horror story. It's just unbelievable. This story is unbelievable.
For years, Troy Harp has been living a nightmare.
This is my mother. This is when she was a baby.
After donating his mother and grandmother to Biological Resource Center in 2012 and 2013, with the understanding their bodies would be used for scientific purposes.
Cancer and leukemia and whatever else, you know, using sample cells. And that's what I was told.
But that's not what happened. In 2014, the FBI raided the Phoenix facility in hazmat suits as part of a multi-state investigation into the illegal trafficking and sale of human body parts. But for the first time, we're now able to see the testimony from one of the FBI agents who conducted the raid, and what he recounts is shocking. He said he found a cooler filled with male a bucket of heads, arms, and legs, infected heads, and one of the most disturbing findings, called a morbid joke in the lawsuit, a small woman's head sewn onto a large male torso like Frankenstein and hung up on the wall.
Who in their right mind? It's absolutely gross.
The lawsuit also says the bodies were cut up with chainsaws and bandsaws, and pools of human blood and bodily fluids were found on the floor of the freezer, with no identification tags on the bodies.
Tools that are not appropriate for dismembering scientific bodies.
Harp says his mother's ashes showed up by mail on his doorstep shortly after the raid, but he isn't even sure they're her ashes. He says his mom and grandma wanted to help medical research after their death, yet doesn't believe they ever made it out of the BRC building.
You feel like you've gotten any closure?
None. This is open, and I don't think I ever will.
BRC owner Stephen Gore was sentenced to 1 year of deferred jail time and 4 years probation after he pleaded guilty to illegal control of an enterprise.
So after that, once again, I lost some of the B-roll here of us visiting this motel. I lost the B-roll of the outside of the motel to show you kind of what it looked like. It was a dingy, old motel kind of tucked off the side of the highway. I'd seen this place referenced numerous times in the blogs and articles about Midnight Productions, and we wanted to see for ourselves if there was any truth to these rumors. Now, what we were about to find in our hotel room was incredibly disturbing, so I'm just going to cut to this now.
So right now we're at a motel here in Scottsdale that we came to, that I'm not going to put the name of the motel because of their business, but I'm going to show you. I found this place mentioned in a couple different forums about Midnight Productions, that this was one of the places where they're abducting people, victimizing them. And just a couple of years ago, this place used to be a lot sketchier. I think they've had new management come in, but I already talked about it on the video, but people reported random men coming into their rooms late at night that were employees of the motel, finding blood, all sorts of sketchy things. But we've got some devices here. Now, we are doing our paranormal investigating techniques like we always do, but we have some new interesting stuff that we're going to be using here. So we have this really high-powered UV light that we're going to do a sweep before we begin investigating, so we can see if there's any fluids or anything hidden in this room. We also have some luminol, so that if we find any areas that are suspicious, we can check if there's blood. Luminol can pick up blood from even all the way up to 10 years ago. And we also have a bug detector to see if there's any hidden cameras or recording devices here. Why don't we do the bug detector first?
So this thing It picks up on radio frequencies, and it also has a feature where you can see infrared. So on like cameras and stuff like that.
So we're basically seeing if there are any hidden recording devices here in this motel.
This picks up on radio frequencies.
This room that we have could be a prime location for activities like this because it's upstairs, so it's away from like people's visibility, but it's also right in front of the stairway. So if people needed to get in and get out quickly, like they were trafficking people, this would be an easy room because they would just hit the stairs, and it's hidden it. I mean, just take a look. It's the middle of the day right now. So, let's search, man. Also, this drawer was like this when we got here. It was open. Wait, search that area one more time. Wait, so is it picking up a signal that it's pointing at?
Yeah.
Like it's right in that direction?
Yeah.
Here?
I'm picking up on my coffee maker.
There's a space behind this mirror.
It's kind of freaky.
It's a little freaky, yeah. We took this thing out and we were playing with it in our hotel room and it didn't go off at all.
I know this looks strange, what I'm doing.
So it looks like it's... It's like right here.
Hold it up towards these lights in the bathroom. These kind of look sketchy.
I wonder if it could be picking that up.
Look at these in here. Imagine how freaky it would be if we actually found a camera.
I know.
Nothing in here.
It's like right here. So it's... I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a hidden camera here, but audio recorder?
Maybe.
I mean, it's... This isn't like an EMF meter where it's picking up electromagnetic frequency.
No.
There's something in this area. Like, let's show them, walk around here, there's nothing.
Maxed out in the middle of the room. I'm a little freaked out.
Look over in the bathroom one more time.
I don't see any cameras, thank God.
None in here.
Nothing.
We're not going to leap to any conclusions here, but he's weak. Barbed wire, large table, he's weak. That's fucking what this device just said.
We never get anything like that.
Barbed wire, large table, he's weak. That's disturbing. Well, there is a signal in here coming from somewhere.
What it is?
We don't know. I mean, we're not experts at using these devices, but we did pick up the signal itself. So now let's do the UV light sweep. Here. Oh. Alright. Oh, dude. Look at that.
Oh, God. Maybe this isn't a good idea.
Dude, look at all that stuff over there.
Yeah, gross.
What the fuck? That paint looks like blood.
I mean, that it might be.
Turn the light on. What? Oh my god, dude.
Blood.
No fucking way.
That's legit
No,
blood.
dude.
You can.
What? Oh my god, bro.
What
the fuck? Oh, dude, I got chills right now.
No,
what
that's
the
legit.
fuck, dude?
Hold on. You can see it
Oh,
on the camera.
dude, it's 100% blood, bro. That is 100% blood on the door. On the door, dude?
Look up here.
Oh my god, Connor. Dude, look at this, bro. There's blood all the way across the door. What the fuck happened here, dude? Not. Oh my god, dude.
What the fuck?
Alright, no, that's so trippy because the way it showed up looked like paint to me.
Yeah. You really did think it was paint.
No, bro, that's 100% blood.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm just spray luminol on it.
Dude.
That's
I did
weird.
not expect that at all, bro. I did not
And
expect
it's
that.
all over the door.
Yeah. Dude, it's all the way up here. It goes all the way
On
here.
the edges. Look.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot of it. All on top.
All down here.
Oh, there's a big spot right here.
Yep. And then here, dude. That's crazy.
Jeez.
What that mean? Seriously, what does that mean for this documentary? Does that mean that
It's still happening?
something is fucking happening in this room? Dude, that's crazy, bro. This is a completely random room that we just got given by the hotel staff. All right, so we have luminol, which confirms if stuff's blood, so we're gonna bring that back over here, but let's finish this sweep first, see if there's anywhere else we should test. You wanna kill that light again? That's fucking...
We should look up, like, when you shine a UV light on blood, what does it look like?
Large table, he's weak, can't stop. False. Alright, this is getting a little eerie, man. Oh, look it. Is there more?
Looks like it.
Dude, no. Wait, bro. No
All
way.
over the walls. Oh my god.
Oh. Dude.
That's freaky, dude.
Should we lift the sheet up and look at the mattress?
Maybe.
Let's do it.
It's clean.
Clean mattress.
Look on this nightstand. Oh, on the lampshade. Oh.
Oh, dude, right here, too.
Oh my god. That might be something else.
Ugh. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff stained over here. Alright. Let's check over here. Yeah. Some white stuff. I don't know if the camera picks it up. Look at my shoes. This is the area I'm a little bit afraid to scan, if we're gonna be honest. Oh! Dude, what's all this shit? Spider marks of something on the ceiling. Mirrors.
Oh my god.
Oh, dude, this is creepy, honestly. This makes me scared to stay in a hotel room.
Honestly.
Anything under here?
Look, close the door. Close the door.
Oh. Oh, man.
Jeez.
What the fuck happened?
I don't know.
I'm not even kidding, dude. Alright. The final test.
Bathroom doesn't look too bad.
Shockingly, bathroom
It's the cleanest
is
part.
the cleanest. It would make sense. It is where you clean yourself. Bro, I gotta see those bloodstains again, though. Oh, dude, look at this. Can you turn your light on? What the f is that? Can you shine it on it? Look at that. It's like completely invisible then when you put this on it.
Mm-hmm. That is nuts.
Alright guys, so I didn't think we'd have to use it, but we came prepared for this. We actually brought luminol. So if you don't know what luminol is, it's what crime scene technicians use to identify bloodstains. They look for bloodstains with this because it makes blood glow. So we have the luminol already prepared, and I think we start spraying on the door for sure. Alright, so we just want to show this on camera. I have a diabetic blood pricker right here because I'm diabetic. So there's some blood. We're going to test this out to make sure we're looking at it right. Alright, so take a look at this. Is my blood.
Without any light. I want to spray it all over the place.
I know. So let's go try this door one more time.
I think it's blood. Well, then what is it?
So it doesn't, we're trying to do this scientifically. That doesn't look like it's blood, but we thought maybe it's like, you know, another thing like semen or saliva. But when you look at it up close, it's red and looks exactly like blood.
Yeah, if that's someone's...
Like, it's clearly not either of those.
Mm-mm.
And it's also not like paint or something like that. It's like literally just dripped on the door on top of the paint. So I don't know what that is. All right, so we tried over here, another area where we saw some staining. I'll try to lower the exposure. Hit it again.
You see those little spots?
Look at this. Where'd you spray that? Right here. Oh, there was some stuff glowing over there too.
Yeah.
All down there.
I'm nervous about this. Oh.
Oh, dude, blood. There's blood on the wall right here. Oh my god, dude, there's a lot of blood on the wall. Bro, that's fucking crazy, Connor. So this is actually picking up blood right here on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
A big splatter of blood. You can see it really well on my camera.
I can see it.
Anywhere else we should try? That's wild that there's blood right there. How about the carpet a little bit? Over here.
Oh, look. Turn it off. Turn it off.
Oh! Spray a bunch right there.
Oh my god.
Dude. Huge blood stain on the carpet.
That's freaky, dude.
Look at that, man. My camera's picking it up. It's like there's blood all over this place.
I don't like that.
How about right here?
A little bit.
Yeah, there's some blood there.
It is freaky. It's like there's blood everywhere.
All over this room. The next day we had a little more time before we left the state of Arizona, so we decided to try find one more guy to interview to get the scoop on Midnight Productions in Phoenix, and this would probably be the most shocking interview of all. So we're down right now in downtown Phoenix, and this is an area where obviously this whole block, not really block, but this whole neighborhood is where a lot of the Midnight Productions houses are rumored to be. And you're just driving around and you can see right here that we just came across this massive abandoned building. Now, if people were abducting, murdering people, it's said that they do it in houses and buildings kind of like this. And this, as eerie as it is kind of perfect. It's a little creepy in here. Wonder what you'd find in a building like this.
I think I want to know.
Nestled in the downtown. This definitely looks creepy.
That's for goddamn sure. Well, I don't know, there's so much mystery in spots like this. Like, what could have happened in a building? I mean, you really just, you have no idea. It's interesting that this place is like destroyed, but there's like no graffiti.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like, you never see this. Oh, something right there. You shine a light on that? Hello? Trying to light up a tiny bit. Yeah, dude, the only graffiti is like one tag, some building markings, a couple lines.
But there's like graffiti on the windows, but that's it. Nothing inside.
Something feels fucking off about it.
I'd be careful going over here. It is kind of strange. This would be like a fucking hotspot with this guy.
What's up, man?
Hey,
Hey, I got a question, man.
What's up?
We're doing a documentary right now. Have you ever heard of something called Midnight Productions?
Yeah.
Can we interview you about it?
Sure. You want my name or?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Are you recording?
Yeah. My name's Christopher Cashmere. I'm a local around here, Phoenix, Arizona. On 19th Avenue in Bachman, at the building is supposed to be for the Midnight Productions.
So, you just said you've seen and heard stuff going on, but you never see people going in and out of this building.
Correct. Yeah, I'm homeless right now, so I sleep over here because it's been in building, stay out the way. But you always hear a bunch of people going crazy and like noises at nighttime, especially on like clear nights. But you never see no one going in or coming out. And I've stayed here for days on end before, like not going nowhere, just kicking back, and it's kind of creepy, you know. But
that's really.
It is like during the week, it's pretty chill. On the weekends is when it goes live, really. But
what do you think that is?
I have no idea, but
that's a little weird that you say that, because this area, we just like drove by this building, and normally what we do is ghost hunting. So it's kind of like interesting that you report seeing and hearing shit, but like nobody's ever coming in and out. They're like very hidden.
Yeah, and the cops never come over here. Whatever noise you hear, you never see no cops ever stop by here or nothing, ever. I've been staying here for like 6 months. Well, not inside the building, but in the area, and they never come over here for nothing. You've heard gunshots, everything. They just don't come over here.
What the?
Weird, but you go across the tracks and you go to one of those businesses over there, and they're there in 15 seconds, telling you to get off the property.
That's wild, man. So like,
it's weird. You can't even chain your bike up without them showing up over there. But you come over here and you can kick it all day if you want.
what's I guess the weirdest noise you've heard in this building?
I've probably heard some women screaming, like women's voices, stuff like that. Just saying like stop it or like, you know, get back, stuff like that. You'd be like, what's up? No one's in there. Like, There's only one. You get in. There's only one way in the back, and then up front. You know, no one ever walks through there, and I know everybody in the neighborhood, so.
That's weird.
It's
dude.
a trip, man.
That's really weird. So I guess, what do you know about Midnight Productions, just in general?
Just from gossip, nothing like hardcore. Like the people roll around in a white van, and then they pick people up. Like they claim to be crisis response teams and stuff like that, but they pick up these people, and then they get the women after they get rid of the men, and then they do whatever they do with the women, and then they kill them. Or something like that. I mean, that's what I've heard. But I've seen a few crisis response vans in the middle of the night rolling around, which is kind of weird, especially for CBI, which is the local drug and detox people.
Yeah.
They go around and pick people up, call it crisis response or whatever. But they do have one van that's like kind of like the FBI style van, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have one of those that roll around, but you never see them really stop to pick anybody up. And they always go to churches and stuff like that. Like I seen it the other night. I was over off the Northern and 19th Avenue, and well, by Dunlap, and they kept pulling into this church. I was with this chick, and they just kept pulling into the church. Like they'd pull off, and then they'd come back to the church, and they'd go off. Like it's kind of weird, but she started freaking out, so we left. You know?
Yeah, that's really weird, man.
Yeah.
What? Have you ever like heard of anybody like specifically that's been targeted by them? Like, have you ever met anybody?
No, not that I know of, not offhand. I mean, then again. Most of the girls that are homeless with us, I mean, there's always some guy with them. We always keep a guy with them, just in case some weird goes off, something like that.
So people are vigilant in the neighborhood about
anybody
sketchy people.
27th Avenue on down. We get down, we get with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes over to our females. You know. Well, I mean, if it comes down to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know what kind of world you live in these days.
Even if it's not associated with Midnight Productions, have you ever heard of people getting like abducted? Shit like that?
Along the railroad tracks. The further west you go, down the tracks, the creepier it gets, especially at nighttime. Like you'll have people come over, like if you have built like a fort or something like that, they'll come over and knock over, but there'll be nobody around. I've heard stuff like that, and then like chicks just disappearing, and they'll come back, and they're just all crazy, like they just don't make no sense, we crying and like eating dog food and shit stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I met a chick like that one time. She was freaking out. She had a bag of dog food. I was like, where'd you get the dog food from? They're like, they told me it was food. I was like, who's they? She's like, yeah, some people. And I was like, well, that's creepy. I was like, come over here, you know.
Man.
I'm glad it's still the West and you can still pack.
Yeah, honestly.
You know, but we go get with it. You know what I mean?
Well, anything else about? I guess. Do you think Midnight Productions is real?
I hope it's not. But if it is, I mean, stay off from 27th Van Buren, clear down the 19th and 19th and Washington area. You got something to come with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's all I got to say about it.
Well, that is really strange that you said that about this building, and we just randomly drove by here. We're leaving today. We're like about to fly back to Houston. Man. Weird shit, man. Well, I appreciate you talking with us, dude.
So, yeah, I mean, the guy told us the same thing about Midnight Productions, unmarked cars, police vehicles, abducting people, hearing screaming sounds from inside of that abandoned building. And that's like confirmation because of all this stuff we've been talking about here that you could look up on your computer. All this footage that I've captured shows that there's validity to all of that. I mean, we talked to a guy who said he literally hears the sounds of people being assaulted and there's never anybody there, which sounds exactly like Midnight Productions. But conclusions. I definitely think there's something going on here. And if you watch this film and you don't think that there's something going on here, I think you should open your mind a little bit because this was shocking. Not only did we hear from legitimate ex-law enforcement that there's a large group of the Phoenix police that believe in Midnight Productions, but we heard from people who live in Phoenix. We heard from homeless people that are on the streets of Phoenix. We heard from so many different individuals who all believe that there is something happening here. With the amount of deaths in the homeless community in Phoenix every year and the amount of people who go missing, I don't even know what can be done here. I think awareness of some sort needs to be raised because if these people really are out here abducting, murdering children and women and men on camera, then that needs to be stopped. And people need to talk about it. I mean, why am I the first person to ever make a documentary about this? I don't know. I'll leave you with that question. If you've enjoyed today's investigation and documentary, please be sure to leave me a like and a comment on the video to support the work that we're doing here. It's honestly been a little bit scary thinking about releasing this documentary because of the amount of people who have said online, do not mess with Midnight Productions. But now you guys have seen this, now you know, and hopefully now you understand that there's something happening here. And only through raising awareness and getting people talking about this can something start to change. But yeah, thank you all for watching. It's Colin. I love you guys so much. I'll catch you guys next week, and stay spooky.